through this GreatShield active, process knowledge with us. Yeah. Now, for the benefits of those new agents, so please allow me to introduce Mr. Ku's background. Yeah, just a little bit of time. Yeah. Now, Mr. Ku is actually a senior associate ANZIF CIP, yeah, means Australian and New Zealand Institute of Insurance and Finance. Now, he has been working in the general insurance for 45 years experience, yeah, and 27 years in the senior managerial position. Now, he's an all-rounded person, I mean, in terms of in operations, underwriting, claims, agency management, branch operations, training, so on and so forth, yeah. Now, Mr. Khoo has been a lecturer in MII since 2011 until 2017, yeah. I mean, thereafter he has been doing on a ad hoc basis, yeah, for MII training. Now, with the experience, yeah, I'm sure that he's able to actually walk through with a very layman terms, yeah, what is this GreatShield active order, but especially those terms and conditions, do and don't, and those exclusions, yeah. Now, as usual, before I pass over, the host to Mr. Hu, there's this business rules that I need you all to observe, yeah. Now, please remember to mute your mic when presenting or actively engaged in an ongoing discussion. Now, remember to join the sessions using your agency code and name. That's very important, yeah, for your branch to capture your attendance correctly. Now, only authorized corporate nominees are allowed to participate in this training, and be reminded not to share the training materials or any screenshot of this training into social media because of compliance issue. Now, kindly stay till the end of the sessions to answer the evaluation polling for your CPD accordance of fulfillment. I'm sure that was already noted. Yeah, so you have to actually, answer some questions. Yeah, when we launch the polling, and there are only 9 questions in total, quite straightforward. Now, in the event that if you have dropped the line and unable to complete the whole 9 questions, do not worry. What we need to do just to actually click the 3 dotted buttons to resume the polling. And thereafter, once you've completed the polling, you may just get it submitted and then leave the meeting room and then we call it a day. Yeah. Now, without further ado, so let me pass over to Mr. Khoo. Over to you, Mr. Khoo. Yeah.
Okay, good morning, everyone. From Malosta, Ipoh, 早晨啊大家 from KB. Selamat pagi Encik-encik. Apa khabar semua di situ? First thing I must ucapkan lah, selamat dalam bulan Ramadan ni. I can wish that everybody is happy, semua sejahtera. Okay, from Penang, we have got agents from Penang as well. Just a short intro. I think Alex have written my history for you all already. But the fact is, you can see from my face a bit what you call senior citizen already lah. Tapi insurance is in my blood. Okay, the fact is insurance is in my blood. I started my insurance career back in 1974. Okay, I've been all the while a corporate man. Takung Jaya, yes, in Cantonese they say yes, Takung Jaya, but it has been good to me. Insurance has been good to me, and I can assure you, insurance will continue to be good in the years to come. Of course, pricing and everything will be very much within the industry. Again, like any other business, insurance business is also a business venture. They also want insurance company. We also want to make a small profit out of the products. So along the way today, if you got any other questions, not necessarily just PA, if you got any other questions, feel free to ask. And dari kawan from Kota Baru atau all those any other Bumi friends yang ada di situ, kalau ada persoalan dalam bahasa, sila tanya saja. I cuba dalam with my bahasa, I will cuba to answer you all the best way we can. But remember, the policy text and wording is all in English. We will have to go that because why? I will go through the policy wording with you, have a better understanding. When we come to technical knowledge, clauses and all this, it's always important to refer to the policy. Why? Because that is the policy, and that is the policy if there's anything will be taken to court. And no other interpretation, but how the policy is to be interpreted. That is the most important point. And one more thing, you will notice that every policy you can bayar stamp duty. You see in all the policies, you got to pay stamp duty. And that stamp duty purpose is because it can be enforced in a court of law. That is the purpose, making it a legal contract. Insurance is all about contract of insurance contract between the insured and the insurance company. Where is your role as an agent? Is that you are acting for and on behalf as the insurance company within the authority vested in you by the insurance company, a representative. So it's also very important. And secondly, not just merely understanding the product, is that the more you know, knowledge is power. The more you know about the product, the more you'll be able to answer the question. Because clients outside there, customers, consumers, okay, when you can tell him something that nobody else can share with, nobody has mentioned to him, you get his interest. When you get his interest, then he will listen to you. 9 out of 10 is not how difficult, I'm sure you will agree with me, is how difficult trying to do a cold call, trying to convince somebody what is the purpose of insurance. Okay. In today's context, we will talk about the PA, what are the available PA that we have. Okay. So for the time being, I will keluarkan myself from the video. I will move on. Like I said, if there's any questions, either you can put it into the chat group to ask, or you feel free to. I would like to probably before one more thing, do me a favor. If you got any questions, please show your face to me, because I am looking forward to seeing maybe some familiar faces out there. Okay, if there's kalau ada apa soalan, sila tekan butang untuk share muka. Mungkin saya adalah dalam my years of working ada berkenal dengan some of the agents. You all could be my friends. Like I said, today, one more final thing before I switch off the video. It's not about training. It's about learning. It's about sharing. My purpose here is not to train you. We are all too old to be trained to do what, but to share with you knowledge, because it is insurance is bread and butter. Your bread and butter. It is in my blood. I have already retired. Technically, since the COVID is over, I've been out out of the industry for about almost 2 years now. But I'm trying to do it because I really enjoy it. It's in my blood. It's not so much of other things, but I enjoy doing this art session. So today is the first trial run. I'm a bit sort of slacking in confidence, but I have a pretty Nurul here sebelah saya. He is going to help me. Alex is on the other side sitting. By the way, I'm in your head office. Okay, what you see behind me is a nice trees, because but actually I love the sea better than the jungle. Anyway, so important thing is about a sharing session. It's not about training you all. It's about sharing. So always remember, you got any questions, feel free to ask. I have this saying that I've always said that, okay, there is no such thing as a silly question. What is the matter is the silly mistake. We all make silly mistake and we regret. Remember, question, just ask. Anything related to insurance whether it is PA or life, I'm not an expert but general insurance, anything relating to general insurance, whether it's property, whether it's motor, liability, not, I will do my best to entertain you. So as far as today's session is concerned, I would like to have it more like a communication discussion face-to-face with you all. Today we are doing it virtual, right? So I'll switch it off and I'll move on to the proper training. Okay, that's for the short introduction of myself. What you see here, the basis gist of today's session is very much focused onto the product Great Eastern Active. And the other thing is clauses in the policy and what this is a wonderful product. How best you would like to market it, how best that you can, because PA is very important as well as that. But of course, during the period of the MCO, the COVID-19, since a lot of businesses slowed down and a lot of people honestly have also lapsed their policies. You probably may have experienced some of these things happening into your life clients. But if at all, do your best to encourage them not to lapse, especially life policy. These type of policies, the PA, you can lapse. But the fact is, when you lapse a policy, you got no cover. That's the danger out of things that have been that accidents can happen anytime without any warning. Okay, so I'll move on. Okay, I'll move my slide. Okay, the PA insurance is a must. Question is must is again whether the insured share our belief it's a must. Okay, again depending on his expendable income, whether he would like to buy. But again, it's better to have even a small PA policy, for example, 50,000 is still a protection, is still something that would be very useful for the case if there's any event of death or permanent disablement. It's still financial help rather than zero. So it's up to you to convince your client to tell them if they're, especially those who cannot afford to renew the policy premium, but encourage them do not lapse the policies. Okay, PA is annual policy, but again, medical policies is even more. The severity of lapsing the policy is even more. Development of the country, accident rates, not only just accident rates, because when we went through this COVID thing, there's a lot of stress and emotional onto our humans, and a lot of them, because of all this, not really in a peace of mind, losing their jobs, losing their income, or somebody having contracted COVID over the period, that will add stress. And in the process, when a person is stressed, his mind is all preoccupied with everything. That's when we are most accident prone. That's when is it? Not necessarily on the road. Okay. When COVID time, everybody loved the traffic. No cars on the road. After the season now, it takes in KL especially, it take 1 hour to drive maybe 10 kilometers. But then there again, accidents. Here we have, whether it's at home or workplace, everywhere is that happening. Car ownerships increase. I really don't understand. I'm still trying to understand our Malaysian philosophy. When the car sales were going up and up, if you look at the number of cars being sold every month, for me, I'm puzzled. The new cars are being sold. What happened to the old cars? And then, of course, with more and more cars on the road, the infrastructure of the building, the roads are not able to cope with the number of cars. So we'll come to a situation where people drive more than they actually walk. Okay, but in the case in the scenario of Kuala Lumpur, Selangor, where all these urban cities are going, I can tell you, in one house there will be at least 3 cars. Father, mother, son, daughter, all working, each of them having 1 car, probably 5 cars in a household. But again, the government, of course, will be encouraging people to go by trains and all that. Licenses issued. Now, here it is becoming a prominent kind of situation where motorcycles, licensing to youths. First time riding a motorcycle, they probably only think about speed and going on. You see how many of these YouTubes now that you see on the road, people accident, you can imagine seeing the way they ride the motorcycles. They're not careful enough to take. Lifestyles, individual change over the years, social event, mobile gaming. Yes, it's very true. People walking on the road, they're playing with the phone. There's a comment. The administrator Alvin will handle Mr. Lim, Mr. Lau. Lifestyle changes, and of course, over a period of time, the work life, a person may take on to another job, and all those kind of things that is more hazardous. Industrialization, development of country, this is part and parcel. It goes in tandem with the industrialization and development of the country. Accident rates goes up. And I'm sure you're also aware that Malaysia is among the top 10 road accident stats in the world. This one is quite a recent one, happened in KL, North-South Highway. The lorry went over and a number of people, lorry driver killed. And not only the lorry driver, there were quite a number of things. All this is part and parcel of what accidents can happen, not only in the road. For example, when we look at the accidents can happen anywhere, anytime, in the house. Just to ask you a question, do you know in the house, which part of our home is the most dangerous area? Some people will say kitchen. Some people will say toilet, master bedroom toilet, because at night people wake up, go to the toilet, sleep, and fell on. All this very common, very common. Okay, staircase. If you have children, please be careful. Don't leave any of these toys on the staircase. I last week I also nearly fell down because my grandkid leave a toy on the staircase, and I was coming down and stepped on it. Lucky thing is only 2 steps down to the bottom. It could have been worse if I'm at the higher up floor. So these are the accidents that can happen. So when we look at the word accident, then we look at personal accident. You can also see this is a graph put up by the GE team, that number of road accidents on the road is keep going up. This is not only in Malaysia, but it's a common thing in the world. Okay, but when we look at these accidents on the road, I'm sure you would also be mindful when we look at road accidents, it will be the motor insurance policy. That's another wonderful subject. There's so many things in the motor policy that we can talk about. Okay, that's on the motor policy side of things, whether it's third party or whether it's comprehensive or whether it's act or whatnot. That is the motor product that we later maybe a session could be done for it. Now, any of this, of course, here the focus that we want to share and GE wants you to share is to look more deeply into GreatShield Active as a product. GreatShield Active is the product, and that's the brochure you see. Okay. Now the focus of the moving forward, the sales is that GreatShield Active will be your primary core product that to sell. But then there again, because they also have got GreatShield Special, which I believe has been launched earlier. And then you have got a travel insurance for people who's on a travel trip. I will just briefly run through the GreatShield Special. And travel for more is a travel insurance product. This is what you can say. At the end of the sessions, we hopefully that you stay focused. We will be going in depth, diving deeper into the policy wordings and clauses, what it means, and the benefits in the policy on GreatShield Active. Now, all these are what is called in the market as plan selling. Plan selling means this is plan A, this is the benefit, plan B, plan C, plan D. That's how it's called plan selling in those days. Back in my days when we were starting an insurance, a product like PA, you choose your sum insured 100,000, what occupation. Only then the insurance company will start to calculate the premium rate and all that on that particular product. So the progression and the evolution of the PA class of insurance have really progressed to where you just select, buy this plan, this is the benefit, buy that plan, this is the benefit. So the option why we have this is to make it easier to sell. Easier means is selection. Of course, the other most critical part, which is that when you share with them, you would also vaguely have an idea how much of expendable money he wants to spend on this PA. If at all he's within his tax-free budget, it's not appropriate that you push the highest end product when he only wants to spend maybe $300 on a policy. So you can then cater that this is the policy, so he can match, and then you can conclude the cover to him, selling him what he needs. That's the key important, and of course, sharing with him the need of the PA policy. I'll run through briefly on the GreatShield special, which is on the on your left side. Okay. GreatShield special is what we have. By the way, Alex, what time would we have a tea break?
I think probably at 10:30. You take a short break. Yeah.
Would that be okay? Any suggestions from any one of you? Okay. Now, the product knowledge, each and every product would have these unique features. Why is it catered for them? It's at the time when the product is launched and the development of the product. There could be requests, primarily most of the insurance companies' products on PA or medical or whatever the plan selling products is usually feedback from the agents, feedback what type of products they're thinking of. But of course, sometimes when the feedback comes back to insurers or underwriters, the fact is what's the percentage of people having the feedback and what other things, so that they can develop a product. Of course, the development of product will need the feedback from the agents. That's one of the key things. It's of difficulty when you don't have the agents engagement or agents buy-in to that product. So that at the end of the day, the product is being launched and there will be not much sales or not much response from the agents as well. So these are generally the observations in the insurance industry, and not just unique, not just per se applied to GE, but across the floor of our insurance industries. And by the way, do you know how many general insurance companies are there now in Malaysia? Anybody got any idea the number of general insurance companies in Malaysia now? I think it's only about 20. Back in the early years, back in the 80s. That's right, 23. Great. The evolution of it has changed so much. In the old days, we were looking at companies. There were about 50 over companies, general insurance company, and life will be different. And by the way, when we look at life and general, why is it life and general? Because licensing factors are different. Life products are totally different from general insurance products. Just a simple thing, life products are long-term products. General insurance products are usually on a short-term annual basis, or maybe pre-agreed number of days in that kind of thing, usually on the basis of short-term or 12 months products. So that's a big difference. So licensing in Malaysia, life and general will be there. Of course, life insurance, sure got claim one, whether it's maturity or whether it is death claim, there will be a claim. But the fact is a totally different product in that sense. And in the days when life general insurance was only based on every other company will be competing for pricing. Those were the days when there's still going on strong competition between one company and another. That's where the product differences will come in. That's where one company will have this, one company will have that. So what do you do when people start to look at, you know, there will be, because I've come from my earlier experience on agencies, I've gone through all this. And some agents would say, this company has that, why we don't have this, that. So at the end of the day, there is no end to comparison. So my advice is sell your policy, sell your product, sell the strong points of your product. that's the product you sell. Because the rules in Malaysia for general insurance is still not changed anything. Every general insurance agent is only entitled to represent 2 general insurance company. The rules are still the same. And today I'm doing this is also partly on the requirements of CPD. Continue professional development. You need the 20 hour CPD points. But if you are doing live, how many points? 30? Live, is it 30? What happened if, nowadays, I'm sure you all as agents, you probably be one-stop shop doing unit trust, doing takaful, doing general insurance, doing this. I can imagine how many points you sit down and acquire points for this one whole year. So each and every one of these will have the requirements. So in general insurance companies, it's 20 CPD points. It still stands. And of course, the Persatuan Insurance Arm Malaysia, or PIAM, that is still the so-called body governing or looking after the general insurance companies. And most there's still this thing that is have to submit to PIAM. The policies, if you want to launch any new general insurance product, you still required to submit to PIAM. Of course, Bank Negara is there, has the authority governing body to look at it. These are things but generally for PA products, it's quite free. So each and every company will have their own products to launch. The evolvement is that in those days, it's just based on competition. Now, general insurance company is also required to have actuarial pricing. That is the main issue. That actuarial pricing is important to calculate the sort of like product and whether it can sustain over the period. And in the context of life insurance company, actuaries were already a very important and ongoing feature for many years. Is in the Insurance Act. Of course, now they call it FSA, Financial the Act, Financial Services Act. And in that Financial Services Act, insurance and banks are part and parcel of this financial services overlooked by Bank Negara. The rules and regulation making the insurance industry much more stable and not so much of consumer complaints. But then there again, there will always be. Okay, so I sidetrack a little bit. This is where we look at the great special, a product that was launched much earlier. Then we look at the travel for more. I will just elaborate a little bit into it. Now, this product is one of the product, GreatShield Special. It's primarily at that time when it is launched, I believe, into making it a simple product, making it a product for high-risk occupations. In PA, you have class 1, class 2, class 3. Occupation, not people. Class 1, class 2, occupation by risk. The higher the risk, the higher the premium. And if it goes even higher, still above that, then the company may not be able to accept those kind of occupation. Now, I'll give you one simple example has always been in this. Air crew, pilots, stewards, and all these are part and parcel of the decline risk. Why? Their job is very safe, but flying up in the air. It's not so much of that because it's the factors that is involved if you are covering an air crew plane, maybe 10, 15 or in one plane. So you have what you call accumulation. And by the way, why the insurance companies sometimes don't accept this, don't accept that. It's also because the insurance company have what you call a treaty reinsurance. Treaty is automatic insurance. The insurance company also need to buy insurance. So there will be always, the seller will have this. These are the limitations. These are the occupational hazards that they would not want to accept. Risk like that, because if you look at the factor of risk that is in the high category. Of course, we also know the high-end category, things like divers, professional divers in the maritime business. Then with things that explosive handlers, quarry workers, timber logging risk. These are high-end risk. So in this GreatShield special that was done. Very simple product. There is not much to look at any other plans. This is primarily accidental death, permanent disablement. You have 4 plans to sell that, and permanent disablement. I'm sure by now you know what is permanent disablement. Not die, but permanently disabled. It can be permanent disablement will range from maybe loss of finger, loss of use of a hand, loss of eyesight, loss of hearing. These are the things that, but it will be due to accidents. Medical expenses is in relation to the medical expenses incurred for because of the accident of medical treatment, subject to the limits of the policies that is stated there. Capital sum insured will be that. Accidental death, the word always used is accidental death. So the definition in accidental, what is defined as accident, is also very crucial into determining the cost. We call it proximate cost, okay? Proximate cost. I will cover that more when I move on to the active cover. So far, any questions? Because I also think it's important. I would like to have a more participative, like communication in a discussion, because 就嚟口水乾啊，講到ada persoalan di situ, and I believe if you have anything, just ask. Anything, Alex? No. Good. So the understanding is this is a product. GreatShield Special is a product by itself, and the plans are the 4 plans to choose. Very simple. This is it. But then there again, when you want to sell this product to a person, ask yourself, does he need more, or just a basic Shield Special product, a basic plan that is in this? Do you think he needs more to it? Yes. But then there again, you can also have, if you do have, for example, a customer, your clients who may be in the high risk occupation, who may be a mechanic, who may be a what do you call an air conditioner engineer who climbs up and down the ladder to handle industrial air conditions. These are high risk occupation. He may be in that category wanting just a simple basic. Or those people with lesser expendable income, means their income is smaller, that there may be the B40 or the mid M40. I'm sure you know what's B40, B40 and M40, and their income is lesser, but they need the protection as well. That is why you would see why the government has also coming up with this kind of insurance plan to help them. But of course, the premium factors will also be there. They are doing this as part and parcel to bring the level of protection to ensure that in the event of any death or permanent disablement or accidents, there is some form of financial aid. And like in all types of insurance, especially in life, is buying the insurance sometimes is not for the person, for example, not for me, myself, is what I would leave. Hopefully not liabilities. It's always the question, am I protecting my liabilities? The living people, hopefully they can help them, not give them liabilities. So to buy the insurance, get the insurance cover, protection is to ensure if anything happened to me, but of course now I'm already way past the age of the needing the insurance cover. So this is where the children are young, you still have a house to pay, you still have, education for the children. These are the times when insurance is most needed. But of course, people are people. If anything happened, the word should have bought, should have is too late already. Buy it when young, buy it when you need it most. Okay. For this benefit, then you have got what they call benefit to permanent disablement. There is a schedule, what we call as the percentage of the benefit. a percentage of the capital sum insured. For example, in most cases, when they say loss of one eye, loss of two eye, is 100% of the capital sum insured of the plan purchase that you can see from that. Permanent disablement up to, it will be up 100% means up to the accidental limit. So what happens if the person have permanent disablement and then later 6 months down the road because of the accident he died? Does the policy pay accidental death and permanent plus together 2,000? No, this the limit is up to 100,000 accidental death and or permanent disablement. That's how the policies will work up to. And after paying up the capital sum assured, capital sum insured, then the policy would have deemed cease cover any upon the paying of the thing. But of course, the other finer things is relevant to it. It will be things like investigations, maybe post-mortem that's required. And most of that in Malaysia is requirement of a post-mortem that would determine the actual cost in compliance to the definition of the word accident in the policy. These are the part and parcel of it. 1 year cover, cash before cover, and all these are part and parcel of the clause and all that. It's always the case when we look at brochure. By the way, when you look at brochures, people starts with looking at brochure. Brochures are always very beautiful and colorful to catch the attention. Brochures, but in all the brochures, there will always this word says that this is only a brochure for illustration. For full terms, for full policy contract, you need to go and look at the policy for the full terms and conditions of the benefits. In everything, there is always conditions attaching to it, insurance policy. But I want to say this to you. I've been saying insurance policy is very fair one, very fair. It will tell everything is written there. If this happen, we'll pay. If this happen, don't pay before any accident happen. That is the beauty. Insurance, I said the policy is very fair. People used to say insurance insurance tipu orang lah, all this. But the fact is, it don't tipu. The policy is all written in that way. When he buy, the minute he enter into a contract with the insurance company, it's all stated there. The only thing that is missing is lack of understanding, do not read. That is where, only when it happened, people will take out the policy to read. It's too late already. Okay, it's too late. So I will cover some of those things that is very relevant, important. These are things important during the currency of the policy that you can share with the customers what they have to be mindful. It's always good you share with them whether they want or they don't want is their choice, because at the end of the day, the purchasing power determines what they want. Okay, but I think it's very common that you hear people say, your customers say, how come you never tell me? You would have told him, but the fact something happened, then you try to put the blame onto you. These are very common things. So you are stronger than that. So it's always good to explain what are the things that it is to be mindful. But of course, in this context, know your customer is one of the important things. Knowing a customer, I believe you know what is the term knowing a customer. So what is his hobby? What is his habits? But then there again, during the year of the purchase of the policy, in that duration of 1 year, he could acquire something. He could have changed his job to something. This is the time that need to be informed back to the insurance company. I'll cover that a little bit in detail as we move on to that. Now, as far as this product is concerned, GreatShield Special. So this is very basic, very standard. Of course, it is extended to motorcycling. Motorcycling is a cover there. Why motorcycling? Because the risk is always much higher riding motorcycle, whether it's pillion rider or whether you're riding that. And of course, there is plenty of cases out there that motorcyclists do not have a license. There's a big difference between expired license and totally no license. So what happens? So these are the things that need to relook at every section of the policy in relation. Every company would have their own definition their own conditions to look at the motorcycling, what will happen, whether it's licensing, even the same thing. Different companies may have different definitions for example, intoxication. That's kind of things that happens. So it's always important, look at the policy, look at that sections. In this GreatShield special, there's no renewal bonus, and one of the simplicity of the product. Why? Because it's simple. Made the simple product, the premiums are affordable. So that's where. But then there again, in all PA products that you look at, everybody, or whether your competitor, everybody will say, your one got no renewal bonus. This is pros and cons to it, whether you want that. Over the year, of course, the intention of the renewal bonus, there is this intention of giving renewal bonus is to encourage retaining the business, encouraging renewals, and the accumulation as it goes on. That one, you will see all the wonderful and great features in the active cover. I use the word active, GreatShield active cover. You will see all those there in that wonderful product. But then there again, in that wonderful product, there will still be terms and conditions in that sections of the benefits. And this is where we'll make it different from one company. So my advice to not only to you, but all the agents, please try not to compare. When you compare one competitor and one competitor, you will get all confused. And hopefully you don't remember something of the other company's product and say it is here, and then you get in trouble when you see that it's not here. So this will be the difference. Focus on that GE product, the active. Limitation of travel. What it means by limitation of travel overseas, 90 days consecutive days, we want a person out of the country for 90 consecutive days. Then the cover limited cease from the 91 days onwards. So that's where they have limitation of traveling overseas. Now, this particular condition of limitation of traveling overseas 90 days is very unique in all the medical policies, standalone medical policies. That you have this 90 days out of the country. Consecutive means you must be out of the country. A person can go and fly on the 89th day, he come back to KLIA, chop the passport, he fly out again, then another 90 days. That's how it works, okay? Because he's back in Malaysia, his passport is recorded that he's back in Malaysia, then he take the transiting flight and fly off again. That will have another 90 days period from that day. Entry age, 18 to 60, and renewable to 65. Of course, the renewable section part from 60 to 65 is you have to, need a health declaration, a good state of health. That will be very important before underwriters can consider renewing the product up to age 65 alone. Why is it so? Now, you will note that this particular product, it says starts with age 18. So you will then see, what about those people, children? Because there are other products that cover children. So this product, if you are covering a child cannot enter into a contract. By the way, a minor cannot enter into a contract. You've got to be the parents on the life of the child. Okay, so 18 to 60. So that's where 18 to 60 is the entry age, means you can buy the product, buy this cover on that, and renewable up to age 65. But when you look at this age renewable up to age 65, you compare this to the active product, it's renewable up to 100. So there will be differences in the products that you do and sell. But like I said, this is just a brief intro into this particular product. Any questions on this particular GreatShield? If not, I'll just move on.
Mr. Khoo.
Yes, please.
Bethesda 他们去 traveling over 90天但是他们是有 extend extend another 30 days 这个。
等一下我的华语is 6:30 so sorry OK， 如果你等一下we will move into travel insurance, then the question will come up， 对吗？
OK
你说的是 for travel insurance extend that one also good question, I say, because that is a very common thing that happen every now and then, because flight delay lah, cannot come back lah, there got earthquake lah, how? So this is a very relevant question, extension into the PA. I think the Travel for More has got this catered into it for that particular needed question. Okay. Then you say when I go into this group special, we will then look at the part and puzzle of the extensions. Right. Any more on this particular PA, or whether you got any questions on other things that is on insurance?
Good morning, Mr. Khoo. On the last condition, the last 4 conditions.
Tanisha, may I know, introduce yourself first, because I want to know a friend there.
I'm confident. My numbers very beautiful. PG00.
No, I don't want. I cannot remember numbers because I'm not in what do you call massage center.
My number is 38.
Your name, please.
Lim Kim
Your
Siang.
name,
Lim Kim Siang.
Mr. Lim. Mr. Lim, where are you from, Mr. Lim?
From Penang.
Penang.
Yes.
Okay. How's the weather in Penang? Still very hot,
Qingming, so it's good, airy. It won't be flood because Qingming already.
Yeah. Okay. What's the question, sir?
The last 4 conditions are extension to motorcycling, no renewal bonus, limitation of traveling overseas. This one have some confusion. You say only after 90 days, it won't pay.
Policy.
But accident and permanent disablement pay, right?
Here it says that what is given to me, the medical benefit expenses will cease from the 91 days. So if there's any accident or that, medical expenses is not paid. But it's important that we go into look at that particular policy itself.
But dice pay if accidental death.
Hey, look at the policy, because I have to look into the policy. It's very important. My suggestion to you.
I never sell this product, so I don't have policy.
No, don't. You never sell this product, it's okay. So you go and sell more active product. Okay, you go and sell. But what I'm doing here, because this is a product also available in the GE range of products. So when today's topic is on PA, so they said just to bring it up to the effect. Sometimes maybe you would, like I said, if there's a choice, Mr. Lim, sometimes your customer again in the situation of he wants protection, he wants insurance cover, but then again the limitation of expense, how much to spend. He may just want a simple policy. Now then you can just and something that is, even for example, like a plan 2, 25,000 accidental death benefit is still better than 0. So look at the premium. He may, in that process, wants to take on a cover within his means, his financial means. Okay, any more?
Okay, we'll see at the policy. All right, thank you.
Welcome. By the way, you all can actually go into GE's website to look at all these things, Okay, if it don't, if it is not there, you can always ask the staff there to give you a copy of the policy. The copy of the policy is what it states there. Everything is there written. You can get a copy of this policy, or they will probably chop specimen or photocopy specimen, and then you can read under this to understand that particular section or that particular answer your questions. Like I said earlier, it's not about training. Training is about sharing knowledge. I believe is sharing knowledge. And honestly, why I still want to continue doing these type of sessions is because I believe I got a lot of things to share and give back to the insurance industry. I'm already, what you call, up to this stage, already going to be 67. Looks up chat. But then again, when I talk about this subject, when I go into training, I get very excited. I would have this energy level boost up. But after a training session, very tired already now. Mentally, I'll be tired. But in the process, like doing all this, I still enjoy it lah. So I will probably continue doing it until I call it a day, when I do not know. Okay. Now we move on, and if there's no questions on that. Travel for more. Now, this is a very, very important product. Very, very important travel insurance. That you look at this. The name of the product is Travel for More. And this is a very comprehensive product that your company has. Okay. A very, very important product that you need. Why? It's the protection while traveling. I will give you some real life examples that happened during my time working with that to be administrating that particular kind of situation, claims and all that, under which section that they go. Traveling is one of the worst things, because when we travel overseas, by the way, nowadays, most countries that you travel to, they will ask to see, they want to see your travel insurance cover, the policy. They want to see, so that these are the important things that you travel now to need to pay and buy that cover. So you can have these plans, the Travel for More. You got 3 plans to travel overseas. They also have a domestic plan there in that particular product, and during the peak of this COVID-19 issue, that was 2 years back. Now it's already almost 2.5 years from the time when it's locked down. The countries that people want to travel to must have this COVID-19 benefit extension. And so GE also came out with this to cater for the needs and requirements of this. But again, it is no fun to what you call contract COVID in another country. Or for that fact, you have a sickness, or a person fell down and go for medical treatment in another country. I can tell you, the benefit, even though the benefit of this medical expenses is so high, it may not be enough in another country. Examples in Japan, examples in US, UK, very, very expensive. Common sickness, for example, appendicitis while traveling, it costs about 30,000-40,000 US. But then there is the need for that appendicitis while traveling, or for that fact, an accident, for that fact, an sickness will happen there. 3 years ago, I think it was 3 years ago, one of my friends was an agent for another company. He was an agent attending a conference, attending overseas sort of like an incentive trip. It was in Japan, because it was also part of, it was also, I believe, it's still cold and rainy and thing. When he walked down the staircase, he slipped and fell. When and a person is walking down staircase, you slip and fell, the injury is very severe, because you will land on the back, on the head, because your legs is going to go, bam, he fall backwards. I tell you, he didn't die, but he was paralyzed down for that moment. And the treatment there in Japan, orthopedic treatment, back, apparently there is I think a fracture into one of his lumbar, that means the spine. The bill alone was coming up and coming up. So that part of it, traveling, not that the story didn't end there. How is he going to come back to Malaysia after he stabilized his condition? He's not cured, He's still in what you call in a stretcher, lying down mode, What choice has he got? He got to be, like a push up to be in a standing position. So when he stabilizes the condition, he has to be, what do you call, in a position of a stretcher, a rollerblade stretcher. They have to remove seats from the airplane. Do you know how much it cost there? Came back to Malaysia, continue his treatment. The travel insurance policy benefit tak cukup. It was high. The benefit there was high. I think it was about 300,000 Malaysian ringgit, but it was not enough. So he came back and continued treatment. And so he continued treatment. He had another medical policy. Then he combined together to continue treatment. Up to this point in time, I believe he's able to move a bit, but still a permanent injury to the spine. Nothing serious, not involved in accident. He just slipped and fell down to the steps that he was going down out from the restaurant. This is where the power of this insurance, especially in traveling. The thing that when you look at travel insurance, some of the features that I look at, people will be looking at, loss of curtailment of flights, loss of bags, flight delay. All these are the small frill benefits. The core main important one, medical expenses for accidental injuries or illness. Okay, then you have the emergency medical evacuation and repatriation. Now, when you look at this particular policy, it covers both the medical injuries and accidental injuries or illness. Illness, very unfortunate. A person may appendicitis, or maybe he have a contracted any kind of virus or sickness that causes pneumonia, the admission into hospitals for treatment. So these are the factors that why, because the cost overseas is very, very expensive, especially medical expenses. That is why I share with you that when we look at medical expenses, we have all these unique things. Unique things like, for example, especially people who are staying in nearby JB, they want to go to Singapore for treatment. My friend, pay premium in Malaysian ringgit, but want to get medical treatment 3 times the cost in Singapore. These are the real things that insurance company need to understand. Of course, if a person who's in Singapore for working or traveling to Singapore, he had met with an accident there, then that will be covered in the Sing dollars. But of course, conversion to Malaysian ringgit, policy will pay in that manner. Excuse me. So when you look at the travel for more plan, 3 plans for overseas travel, they also got a domestic travel. Okay, now domestic travel means traveling within Malaysia. You also got a cover there. But of course, traveling within Malaysia, I would say most of the time, seeking medical treatment is in Malaysia is relatively quite convenient to get. It's only depending on where you travel. It may be in the jungle coming out, then it will be only the difference, difficulty in going to the next available medical treatment. This policy of travel insurance can also be arranged for annual or one short-term policy, that means one trip. Annual means primarily if you have a client who is so frequent traveler because of work in and out, so then you can recommend an annual policy that he may be flying in and out of the country, on business that he may be having all over Asia, then he may be flying. So he can have up to the needs, he can have an annual policy that is 12 months. Now, the core main important benefit of travel for more policy, I would just touch on the core main benefits. Why? Because that's primarily a very important part of it. The rest of the things like curtailment of flight delay, loss of baggage, those are the small issue kind of things. A person who's traveling on a holiday to overseas, surely he can afford to buy another bag that is lost or broken or whatever. Now, the main first thing is medical expenses. You will notice that in travel insurance, medical expenses is an amount that you see. These medical expenses will cover both accidental injuries and illness. Illness can be in the form of any other that is not accident in nature. Okay, and the other thing is also you will probably heard about stories of heart attack. You know, there's one particular case I was told it happened while the person was I think was in UK traveling on a group tour. He had not enough money, not enough to settle the bills. So what they did was the whole group that traveled from Malaysia, they chip in. Of course, means borrow the claimant to settle the bills, come back, and then only they pay back what they borrowed for the medical expenses. These are very common things. Emergency medical evacuation and repatriation. Now, emergency medical evacuation and repatriation in Malaysia, all the companies who have got this extension of cover, this is a very, very important part of it, of this travel insurance. It's usually administered by a third party, a group of companies, a company that will arrange all this emergency medical evacuation, repatriation. Medical evacuation for a reason of medical. Cases that I've come across or administered was there's one from from Kuala Terengganu, one of the insured event traveled to China to Bali visit his old relative in the village. He had a fall. He was critically unconscious in a state. They got no choice. There is no medical facility there. They have to arrange under this section, medical evacuation. They have to arrange because it's quite near to the south side. So they decided that to move her to Hong Kong, and they cannot move her in an aeroplane. They have to use a helicopter because if you go in the aeroplane, the pressure on the high altitude will kill the person already. So they moved her from the place in, I think in southern side of China, then nearer to Hong Kong. They moved her to Hong Kong for medical treatment. This is a real life case I'm sharing with you in my years experience, early years. So they moved her to Hong Kong hospital by helicopter. She was still in a coma. After 3 days, she passed away. So the medical bills in Hong Kong, the evacuation cost of taking the administration of the helicopter to fly for transport, that is what it means by medical evacuation. And then repatriation is, the unfortunate thing is from the hospital there, you have to repatriate, send the body back. That is called repatriation of mortal remains. The repatriation can also mean after the condition have stabilized, they have to make arrangements to send her back. Okay, there's another case which happened that guy fell and broke his leg after the medical evacuation to the medical facilities, and then they put the person, a person who is in the leg broken in cast, in metal cement cast. Metal cement cast, it means you have to sit up. So in the aeroplane, you buy 2 seats, front and back. So you got to pay for this kind of expenses. So they repatriated him back to Malaysia. He's alive. But this earlier case I shared with you, the example is the lady passed away. So they have to make arrangement to repatriate the mortal remains, bringing back home the body from Hong Kong right up to Kuala Terengganu. And after all the so-called things were done, of course, they repatriate the body. It could be either be cremated overseas or bring the body. That means the unfortunate thing is it will be in a body bag or in a coffin that is arranged, coming through the aircraft cargo side. So send back to the home and 2 weeks later, after everything has been settled down, the insured really wrote the parents as family next of kin wrote a thank you letter to the insurance company, and you can see how the wonder of this product is. So when you have a travel insurance product like this, Travel for More, this is a very comprehensive. These are the core main things you look at: medical expenses, emergency medical evacuation and repatriation. Okay, if a person repatriate mortal remains, because a person who's traveling will be in no way can understand the local environment there in that country to be able to start and bringing back this. So that's a very important one. The other example I share with you again is through my own real life experience. This Hong Kong couple that came to Malaysia, they went to Pulau Redang. They have this insurance, travel insurance with this particular important feature, emergency. They went to Pulau Redang diving. They came up, unfortunately. In diving, all these there is no the signal and all that for the boatman and all that. No boats would pass within the vicinity. In the process of coming up, one motorboat came whack. The husband died on the spot. The wife was severely injured. That was the case why I was there, because I was working for this company and they have got branches there. They bought this cover, so the contact up to here. So we got the local Malaysian third-party administrator to handle this part. They went to the first thing is primarily from Pulau Redang will go to Kuala Terengganu Hospital, government hospital. So they have to help to arrange everything. The wife was in critical condition. There was no what you call surgeon available for the treatment in Kuala Terengganu. They have to fly her again, fly by this Mercy flight, these private jets. They flew them to, I think it was SGMC for the operation, for the immediate surgery. They flew back to, transferred back to KL. They flew back to KL, to Subang Airport, and they took the lady back for surgery to save her life. In the meantime, the deceased body in Kuala Terengganu in the morgue, they have to arrange everything and send back to Hong Kong. Of course, the wife couldn't travel together because she is still not in a stable condition to travel. So the wife remained until she was able to stabilize. She was okay. Then she went back to Hong Kong. Of course, that is will be under repatriation of life. She's alive, repatriate back to Hong Kong with medical care, sent back home. Again, 2 months later, the note she wrote, I never believed insurance. Now I'm totally convinced this is very important part of the travel. That's the note, the thank you note that she gave. Okay, Mr. CLK, I saw that question. There are benefits that can be claimed with the travel insurance board 14 days before departure. Example, cancellation. Yes, you need to. That will be a catered part of the section of the benefits in that travel insurance policy. Yes, you do have to look at that particular side of the cover. Okay, COVID extension. Earlier, there's another question, right? What was the question?
There was a question asked before that was a claim done through reimbursement, pay and claim, or UGM arranged the payment to Hong Kong hospital direct?
Good question. Now, what will happen is these are the people. The cost of all this is nobody can afford to pay offhand that way. The cost of all this is borne by this third-party administrator who handles this section of it. They will deal with the policy, means they will deal directly with GE. And all the cost that is done is that within medical expenses, that is all the medical, again, the word is medically necessary. Yeah, that is a word very common used in medical insurance. So all this that's related expenses, it's not, they were directly between GE and the administrator to handle everything in accordance to the terms and conditions. There is no, you you cannot pay and reimburse. By the way, by the time you pay for the helicopter, the person died already. So that is the part will be handled directly between the, in this case, I believe it's AAN. Okay, Asia Assistance Network. This is where, have you ever heard of the word SOS before? Was very much a Swedish in Switzerland. SOS was primarily catered at that services to help those people who go up to ski and get accidents and fall. They will send the SOS. That means they will pick them, take them to the nearest medical facility. Okay, very common thing. This is the very important part. People who go to Cambodia and Laos and all these countries, usually if in the case of emergency accident, they will fly into Bangkok because Bangkok has got better medical facilities. Welcome, Mr. Lee or Miss Lee. Okay, COVID extension. Okay, Mr. Lee. COVID extension is, we all know COVID, what happened, the period when COVID, coronavirus, it all happens. So this was one of those extensions that were requirement of some countries, that is cost of it. Now, primarily, as we look back, I think a lot of even the medical fraternity, medical, they have a better understanding of this, what is COVID and all that. Okay, so primarily is the treatment. Why was it so? Because the number of people becomes too big, the crowd becomes too big, that the hospital facilities are unable to provide medical treatment, especially things like oxygen, because primarily is pneumonia, infection of the lungs. That was the killer, because they're unable to cater the facility, because hospitals can only take in that number. So when we have a huge number, it's just like flood, the whole thing will be, so the unfortunate will be there again. But then plenty of things that happen, why this extension, and I believe very importantly that GE was able to cater for this need at that time, and is still a part of the policy. Okay, so that was the way to create an environment. And by the way, just to share with you, I believe you will also probably know, it was reported in Hong Kong, in Thailand, a few general insurance company, because of the COVID thing, they thought it was a good market. They can sell a lot of policies, but unfortunately, when it comes, even the company was in deep trouble when they started selling this COVID cover. Okay, so those were the annual policies, COVID cover thing. So extensions into it was something that can be a dangerous factor. Why? Because in the policy, I will probably I'm doing also the medical section later months, later in the next month or so. I'll try to maybe have a sort of like a discussion on what medical policy, the words and the words and the exclusions, it was said not covered and all these things. Yes, why was it not covered and things like it was in the policy conditions taken care of. So that's where the COVID extension for Plan C only. Of course, Plan C means the highest plan. Again, this product is a very good. The minute you know of anyone traveling, whether it's your family, your things, please take this cover. Very, very important. I can tell you that. Okay. The things like just now talk about cancellation of flight, cancellation delay, flight delay, loss of baggage, loss of personal documents, and all these are the smaller issues. But the main core is these three big items. Main core of a travel insurance product. Right. So we move on, Alex.
Mr. Koo.
Yes.
Yeah, my name is Nga. Can I ask a question?
Please.
Thank you so much, Mr. Koo.
You're welcome.
Insured is covered under Plan C. We went for a holiday overseas, and On the way back in the plane, he felt a little bit unwell. The plane landed at KLIA at 11 p.m. And the next day, he went to see a doctor and he was diagnosed to be COVID positive. Is he still covered under the medical expenses?
Wow. This one, honestly, I over this thing to answer you a yes or no, I believe you need to definitely look into that policy. And I believe that will be catered in that question. Very good question, because why? He's still traveling, not touch base yet. And I believe, in my personal opinion, yes, my personal opinion. Whether the question is how long the duration that he's still traveling and in that essence contracted it, and the treatment will be sort of like required. But I can assure you now,
Yes.
now in this current situation, if he contracted COVID, come back, the question is the severity of his condition. Nowadays, COVID, people just say you stay at home. No, they don't use the word quarantine anymore. Quarantine is the bad word in the policy, because the word quarantine is excluded in the policy. But people say that isolate yourself for 5 days, 7 days, okay already. So is there any medical reimbursement claims? Answer to me, Tadala. Does he require to be admitted to a hospital in the case that he contracted? You're saying the example. So it depends very much on the severity. Is he unable to breathe? They have to rush him to hospital. Then there will be medical expenses incurred. But if he is contracted, come back feeling feverish, then the next SOP guideline under MOH Ministry of Health is lock yourself in your room for 7 days. That's what happened to my wife, happened to my son, lock themselves. I was touchwood. I was the only one. Padahal.
In this case, Mr. Khoo, unfortunately, the insured developed complication. The condition was very severe and required to be hospitalized.
Mm-hmm.
And the short-term cover, ended at 12 midnight.
You need to submit this. By the way, when we talk about such kind of cases, it's a situation that you would face very commonly, asked by the insured. Can claim. That will be a very common thing. In your mind, to exactly give that answer is a dangerous, if it is know-how. So what you can do is,
Yes.
as usual, first thing is communicate with the insurance to GE. Let GE handle. You can tell the insured is, yes, you will submit your claims. Insurance company, GE will then study a case to say payable under the policy where liability is admitted or not. Let GE deal with that claim. You can only facilitate by helping the insured to submit the claim in details. There is a difference in my so-called experience in this area. When insured ask us, can claim. The word is can claim. To the mind, okay, to that mind is payable, To your mind is, you should be telling him, yes, anything you can claim, but whether the policy pays or not, let GE sort that out for you. Because if the policy is not payable, if the particular reimbursement claim is not payable, GE will have to, under the policy terms and conditions, will have to officially write in writing. In writing, when any insurance company decline any claim, it must be in writing. Only then is could do. The next step, if it is unhappy with it, then the next step is going for arbitration, going for ombudsman. That is all catered and provided for in the policy. So these are the what you call careful stage that you will have best to take precaution, because in many cases I come across, the customer say, you say can claim. Then it turns out, claim, yes, anybody can claim, but whether the policy liability is apparent or not. Okay, that is very important. So there's one question. Now, in this context of contracting COVID, it is not pre-existing. If it is pre-existing, means before he had that condition, before he even fly, before he even travel, that's pre-existing. Things very common gray area in the travel insurance is about hypertension. That's one of the very common gray area, pre-existing conditions. I hope I can share with you. I may not give you an answer that definitively, but definitely you will be able to find the answer in the policy and from the insurer.
Thank you, Mr. Koo.
You're welcome. I can only do my best to explain, share something.
Mr. Koo.
Yes, sir.
On here, can I check with
From
you?
where?
From
From where?
agency.
From where?
Penang.
Penang a lot. You have to question, eh?
Yeah, come. No, I
Yes, sound, please.
inquire for overseas travel lah. For example, nowadays a lot of people road trip to overseas When will the coverage be on the starting point because road trip itself we don't have like if we go overseas we have flight tickets everything, but this one on their own. So
road trip is the minute you start the journey lah. Start the journey lah. I road trip lah. All this road trip to Hap Chai.
Yes, no lah. To play golf further up lah. Hap Chai no need to buy one.
Yeah lah. On the way to Penang, I go Hap Chai.
67 already you take care.
Yeah.
No, frankly lah. Sometimes
the journey is the definition of the journey that you start the journey. Of course, if you say you're on the way on the journey, say for example, on the way your group of friends are on the way driving up, you stop in Sungai Petani for makan, that is still on the way.
Yes.
If you you go to, like I said earlier, I used the example on the way to Penang, I drop by in Hap Chai is out of the journey way route. Right? So it's the definition, the starting of the journey.
So that means if any medical, they still can start claim from there lah. Missing
you can claim lah, but whether the policy pays or not will be a separate issue lah.
Yeah lah. But it's still covered from the point of
where you start the journey lah.
Yes.
Here you are talking about domestic or your road journey trip lah. Yeah, you still consider as going to Hap Chai is out of the country.
Yeah, correct. Because we sell a lot of those
definition of the conveyance and all that will be different.
But it's still covered from the point we go out at Penang is Penang lah.
Yeah, but here we are looking at the higher probability will probably be accidents.
Yes, and lots of items in the car when, for example, you say stop.
No. That one will be you have to relook into the policy. Lots of items in the car. That one will have to be redefined, relook. Best is to refer back to the policy and the insurance company. Items lost in the car, you are driving in Malaysia, no?
But it's still under the trip, because you play golf,
you can say it, but then the definition of the policy and the car is still in Malaysia, no?
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
You're not over there.
Yes.
By the way, I want to share this with you. This is under motor policy. Okay, not the travel part. I want to share with you. It's preferably do not drive into Thailand. Okay, there's a lot. If everything is fine and good, no accidents, nothing, everybody happy. If there is a smallest accident also on the road, it's going to be very leceh.
Correct.
And there were cases where people's car were compounded because of a small accident, knocked into one of those one of those peddlers on the road. On the side, the police compounded the car, and then the car was taken up for further up investigation, tarik into Bangkok.
Correct, there is extension cover. Other than that, this
it's not an extension. The person was put into jail. Lock him up first.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Koo. And the other one,
these are just sharing some of the experience. You know,
and then Mr. Koo, the other one is
again the limitation of the policy. All vehicles that drive into Thailand, you have to buy a separate sticker that is third-party insurance, third-party bodily injury.
Yes.
And then what about
Another thing, beneficiary part, for travel one, I understand that we have to separately inform Great Eastern of the beneficiaries. But I think last time we used to incorporate into the proposal form the beneficiary name. But now it seems that we have to do a separate information to Great Eastern. So inconvenient for a lot of people.
The nomination, by the way, I can only share with you, but I can't say. It is not per se how the form used, whether it's a separate form or part of the proposal form, is in a form of the key most important thing, whether it is any form of PA policy, you please put a beneficiary there. Please have a beneficiary on what do you call assign beneficiary of that nominee or whatever. Please have this done. Very, very important.
But
Very,
we have to
very
do a separate
important
one.
part.
I asked the Great Eastern, the officers, in office there, they say this is one of the Bank Negara guidelines whereby you don't incorporate the beneficiaries details into your when you submit for the proposal for the travel. You have to do a separate information to Great Eastern. Is it not very inconvenience? It's a like a there's no improvement on this thing.
some yeah, Mr. Ong, is it?
Yeah.
Mr. Ong. Mr. Ong, sometimes we wish insurance. I've spent so many years working in the insurance company operation. We wish we could simplify everything, but when you come to some of these particular sections, some of these requirements, nomination form is a very core part, importance to it, requirement, whether in part of this. So we too have got to follow the guidelines. So whether we use a separate form or a travel insurance form, I would suggest get the form, clip it to the proposal form. Then it is all clip it together and then you fill up the details or not. Very important, very, very, very important to have nomination forms because that's the requirement. Again, I believe it's under the FSA, Financial Services Act that requires.
Yeah, Mr. Ong, just to top up what Mr. Khoo said, yeah, because as you know that I think effective December, right? So we need to actually submit the physical nominations, yeah. So I think this is something that has been made known to the agents. So I think for those operations questions, yeah, I mean, it's a wonderful questions. Thank you very much, yeah. Highlighting perhaps that you may actually, check back with the marketers for the whole details, yeah. Thank you very much, Mr. Ong.
Yeah, thank you, Alex. Thank you very much.
Yes, very. This is also I said, like I said earlier, it's okay you bring up this so that you highlight these are the things highlighting. See how can the administration people, how can GE the administration part of it can help improve. That is the key. It's about sharing.
Yeah, okay, Mr. Khoo, thank you. I don't want to take up a lot of your time because
No worries,
lunch.
maybe the next time we got chance to see face to face, I'm all yours.
Okay, see you around. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions from anybody from other branches? Ipoh?
Okay.
Alex says we take a short break of 10 minutes before we move into the next section of this GreatShield active. Would that be okay with you all? I believe so, because I saw not only a tea break, I need a water break because the storage tank tak boleh simpan lama lah. Okay, we have a short break. So we'll be back in 10 minutes. Okay, see y'all shortly. By the way, please do not lock out. there were plenty of resistance from people doing this, but then there's a requirement by law, and I think it's really helps to we will have to insurance industry and companies have to abide by the requirements.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you for your feedback on that.
Agents viewpoint, if we understand, then we will be more willing to fill up the form and explain to customers at the same time.
Mm,
So
mm.
cool.
You see the issue, nomination form, if nothing happen, no issue, right?
Mm.
If something happen, the insured there is unfortunately the insured in the process died of that accident. He can't be saying anything. So what he have signed and what is his wishes is to be insurance company will need to attend to that. We won't want insurance company do not wish to get caught into the entanglement of their family. Who is going to take that? Everybody wants the money. That's without a doubt.
That's right.
So the question is again, we would fight. There are also cases that happen is the so-called family or whatever, next of kin or whoever that is, take the case to court and get an injunction to prevent the insurance company from paying all this. This is where, honestly, the insurance company do not wish to get entangled into this kind of law cases because it will cost the insurance company more money.
True.
Just to get the legal aspect of team to contest and blah blah.
Mm.
So it becomes part of the requirement. I think there is an article, or rather there is a passage to mention this in the FSA, Financial Services Act, that there is some mention in it. And if I recall correctly, there is also a section in this payment of PA claims. If it exceed a certain number of must pay within, I think, 60 days or whatever. If not, the insurance company got to pay interest based on the percentage there,
Correct. I think you apply
These
to
are in the act. You can probably, for reading, it's been a while since I read the act again. But
yeah.
I do have a copy of it last time. That it is stated there. So it's best the insurance company. You see, if the insurance company don't follow the regulation, we will be shot by Bank Negara.
Mm-hmm.
And then it can give rise to a lot of unnecessary things. Nowadays, the insurance industry has got quite a bit of what you call rules and regulations. We all have to abide for everything. Anyway, that's for the insurance industry. I think the banking industry is quite shaky now.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr.
I believe probably another 2 banks in US may even be in a bigger trouble. Anyway, thanks for the feedback. Thank you very much for your participation in it. Okay, Lex, any comment that you would like to share before I move on to this GreatShield Active? Comprehensive, extensive benefit and features. This is again part of the active lifestyle that the proposer. No, there's this issue. I believe you have heard this before. A proposer from what you call, you start with a suspect, become a proposer. Proposer is one who's want to propose to buy the insurance. Then the last step after the policy is issued, accepted by insurance company, he becomes the insured. And in the life context, it's called the assured. Right? These are the words being used. In general insurance, most of the time, you call it insured. If with a capital I, the small I will mean he's just insuring money. So capital I, insured, refers to the person named in the policy as the policy holder that enters into the contract of the PA policy between him, the insured, and the insurance company. In this context is GE. And the policy is an evidence of a contract. Key propositions that will be part and parcel of the plans. There are altogether 7 plans to choose from. We look at that. Then we'll cover into these details. And then we also look at some underwriting questions, which is put up by the underwriting department. Some of these unique, you'll see quite common. Now, this is more or less the menu for this GreatShield active. Hassle-free enrollment with age early as 30 days. Now you look that now you see the difference that for a child, of course, 30 days old is just after the first 1 month birthday you can insure. This is very unique in that sense, same very much the same like what you see as the entry age in a medical standalone policy and all that. Up to age 70. Now you can see the duration is up to age 70, whereas the earlier one is only up to age 65 at best, renewable up to age 65. Here we have this context of 30 days up to age 70 and renewable protection up to age 100. Of course, the 70 to the 100 lifespan is very much subject to acceptance, companies, things. Renewal bonus, 100%. So you can see the capital sum insured, 100%. It goes up into the level of the cover for capital sum insured. This product is definitely affordable, high coverage, wide range of benefits. So the benefits again can be small benefits like ATM withdrawal, the kind of thing, accident being robbed at ATM, snatch, theft, and all these things that will be relevant to the day-to-day life. But we're going to look at the other sections of the policies. Snapshot, you can find this in your brochure. Look at the brochure. If you have a brochure copy of it, even better. That by the way, what you write in the brochure is what you read. For further details and things will be the policy again, the policy jacket, the policy written there. Benefits, death and permanent disablement that you can define, the level, the plans that you select up to Plan 7 is 1388. I believe this is a product launch somewhere around Chinese New Year, everything, you know. Medical expenses, relatively, I would say relatively small. But here again, please understand this is purely due to accident, no more illness. Unless it's specifically mentioned down to the issue of what are like Zika, dengue, and all this. This is purely mentioned. But here in the context, here we looked at is up to 5,000 relating to this policy medical expenses. Again, the selection of plans comes in. So again, the point is here the plans from 1 to number 7, looking in line with whatever expendable income that the proposer, the one you are going to sell this to, expendable income that he may into his capabilities that he wants to do. Double indemnity for accidental death. Double indemnity. Actually, I wouldn't say the word indemnity. The word indemnity is in the context of PA is not indemnity. They just pay a double up the accidental death on public conveyance and public sports event, prevailing of the capital sum insured. Now here there are some finer points into it, except for act of terrorism, where the payout will be capital sum insured alone will be specifically stated under that particular section of terrorism. And then in the terrorism, I will go through that with you. There is also a limitation of if it is due to NCB. Okay, I use the word NCB. It means nuclear, chemical, biological weapons. So today's terrorists that they look at, the next stage will be all these kind of things: nuclear power, nuclear energy, nuclear bomb, and all this kind of thing. So that will be the exclusion out within that. Double indemnity for death. Okay, then you have triple indemnity for total permanent disablement. So when you look at the context of total permanent disablement, you will understand what it means. The insured did not succumb to the injuries, but may have lost an eye, may have lost a hand, may have lost a finger. So this will be in the context of what you call triple the amount shown on the part about the sum insured. So under this permanent disablement, percentage-wise, you will see it in the policy called the schedule of benefit, or they call it the scale of benefits. That is maximum is 100% as it runs down to maybe even 5%, 10%. So depending on the severity of the nature of the disablement, permanent disablement. Loss of a finger is categorized as permanent disablement. You cannot have a replacement finger. Okay, that's what the difference. There's two sections, very unique to this policy. Double indemnity, triple indemnity. Okay, I just mentioned about the accidental death, permanent disablement due to terrorism. Specifically, how do you look at this due to terrorism? Now, I'll give you an example. Some years back, some of you may remember, there was a terrorist shooting incident in Istanbul airport. Okay? Now, that is terrorism, but it's terrorism. So if unfortunately at the airport, one of the injured is cross in the stray bullet got shot dead, that is part of the terrorism. But when it's the terrorism, means it's not you and me to determine it's act of terrorism, it's the government of the day, government of the country to declare it's a terrorism. That's a standard, then the policy will pay this amount accordingly, fixed amount. This is a fixed amount, not per se relevant to including renewal bonus, blah, blah, blah. This is a fixed amount, which again, I must say, the policy is very unique. Now, this is where you see the word exclude nuclear, chemical, and biological. So I use the word NCB, not the moto NCB. Okay, so the three definition of nuclear, chemical, and biological terrorism. Now, again, there's one example. Remember, I don't know how many of you will remember North Korea's brother, Kim Il-jung or whoever was so-called assassinated by two ladies in KLIA some years back. Anybody recall that? What were they using? Chemical. So if that context of the chemical, again, there was one case where terrorists attacked using chemical was in Japan many years ago. The train, how many people died? That one is not covered. Okay? So any form of nuclear weapon, nuclear bomb. Now the nuclear can be in bomb. What they call it dirty bomb. Dirty bomb. It means nuclear, a small amount of nuclear. Chemical maybe anthrax, maybe whatever. Biological issue was COVID-19. So this becomes part of the thing. So this conspiracy theory you will read and hear about. So biological means germ warfare, germs or virus warfare. So this is what the defining moments under what terrorism and what are the exclusion under this particular section, meaning to say nuclear and chemical or biological terrorism, use of these weapons the policy will not pay. Renewal bonus, 5%, blah, 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 up to 100% as you knew. That there is another unique benefit, death due to mosquito bite. Okay, as you know, dengue, there are two types of dengue. One we call hemorrhagic dengue, that is the most dangerous one. Some are dengue where dengue may not even require to be admitted, but to go into hospitals, go back to hospital regularly to have the blood test, platelet count test, this and that may recover. That will incur medical expenses, and which is the policy going to pick it up as well. Very good. So death due to mosquito bite. If don't die, the section here don't pay.
Mr. Koo,
ATM withdrawal protection, you see.
Mr. Koo, can I ask a
Yes.
question before we move on? Death due to mosquito bite. Under plan, can you go back to the previous slide, please? Yeah, plan 1, the sum payable is 40,000, which is 50% of 80,000. Right?
Continue.
And the renewal bonus, how does it come in?
Okay, good question asked. I will probably have to go into the policy in a short while. Hold your questions about any particular thing so that we can then read This is my intention. We'll get through the policy, go through the policy with you on this to have that whatever questions that you ask.
Thank you.
Right. But I believe here, looking at this schedule of benefits, when we have a schedule of benefit, you will have a description to define what is covered, what is not left. Just bear with me for a short while, but then because I'm getting old, so you need to remind me all.
Thank you. Take your time, Mr. Koo.
Okay. So ATM withdrawal, again, these are the features and features in this active plan that have probably taken care of so many things, even though the amount is up to 1,000, but take it as a benefit. Ambulance fees, people are being what you call ambulance admitted to hospital from, you see, it's just a little bit of elaboration. The first, we have primary care. Primary assistance means the government. Now from the, say for example, road accident, the first primary service provider will always be the government, hospitals, MOH, Ministry of Health, ambulance. There's no charge. Okay, so you will have this scenario when what happened, the question in your mind will probably what happened from general hospital, you want to transfer to private hospital. Then you look at the policy wordings to look at these things of net into it. There is always these charges incurred and all that. Hospital income, you will know, is just like income policy is actually, I would use the word hospital allowance. You know, income is not staying in the hospital to earn money. I don't want that. Okay, so this is where the benefits are. Supplements, a good, very unique thing here. Supplement allowance, buying supplements per accident basis. After that, the hospital doctor say, you please, because of the orthopedic problem, you have to, take more calcium supplements. So you buy. This is due per accident that you have. Then this is part and parcel of it. Allowance, paid allowance. Loss of personal effects due to snatch, theft, robbery. Now, in this context of personal effects, snatch, theft, up to $1,000, you want to change phone, up to a limit of $1,000 lah. Okay. Prosthesis, wheelchair, again, very provided for. Bereavement allowance. Also, some people will define, other company may have the words used like funeral expenses lah, bereavement allowance, but bereavement is, in the context here, is an allowance given. By the way, in a policy, there you will have some words being used. Reimbursement, okay, means you have to incur, the insured person have to incur the bills, for example, medical expenses, including ambulance fee, incur the bill, pay first, then you get reimbursement. It's just like petty cash reimbursement. So you have to have original bills, you have to have whatever that is. And if it is an accident, the police report is very important requirement. So reimbursement. Allowance means they just pay the allowance amount. Okay. Now, of course, then the other word used is the death and permanent disablement benefit amount. Personal liability, which is again an added action into the question of personal liability. Personal liability means due to your negligence. This is the same thing as what you call public liability, the premises used, but then here this is personal liability. I talking, walking along with the umbrella. I poke somebody in the eye and blinded. That's my liability. The negligence. Due to my negligence, I injure a person. That is personal liability that will involve bodily injury and property damage to any other party. Okay, these two, weekly benefit and motorcycling, is an extension, optional benefit. Optional means you have to buy, then you have. But there again, I would say in the context of weekly benefit per week and all this maximum, to my mind, this is the area where most claims are for insurance company. Something that they buy this, and then have this. Genuinely, if there's an accident, you pay up to 52 weeks. 52 weeks means 1 year. So if it is 1 year incapacitated, unable to work, certified by the doctor. This is an area, just to share with you, the years that I've seen, sometimes a lot of others fraudulent claims comes out from here. There were even cases in the early days where they claim weekly benefit from the clinic. You call the clinic, no such clinic, one, no phone answer, one, all fake. Go and make a chop right there. So there were all these kind of things that were into it. So this is an area, honestly, most insurance company would want to limit it to small amount, because the issues about whether it's physically really genuinely unable to work for so long, because in most cases the doctors are very generous, unable to fully unable to work. He can write, instead of 2 weeks, he may write 6 weeks, the kind of things that happen. So it may be a case of an optional benefit. Remember, if you don't buy, you don't have. Motorcycling extension. So in this context, optional benefit, it clearly says the policy, the standard policy, without this optional benefit of motorcycling is not covered. So you have another motorcycling extension that you have. Again, the fixed limit amount in the context of motorcycling. You will also have certain conditions in motorcycling extensions, that the amount of death and permanent disablement is also stated here, from 80,000 for the full sum plan 1 to plan 7. This is a roundup of the benefit. For more details on this, what you call the table of benefits that you have, the schedule of benefits, you can please refer to the brochure. Everything would be there.
Mr. Koo,
Yes.
on the motorcycling, if the motorcyclist, the insured, he has a license but expired, you covered earlier, he will still be covered. But if he or she has no motorcycling license at all, then of course he will not be covered. My question is, if the license has expired, is there a duration, the number of years whereby the company will pay after a certain
We will go into that detail afterwards. Just bear with me.
period?
Okay, welcome. So the premium pricing, again, you see, by the way, this is annual premium. Sometimes they think it's monthly. Annual premium. Okay, again, class 1 and class 2, please understand class 1 and class 2 refers to occupational hazard. Okay, now in all contexts of insurance, there are two fundamentals of insurance as insurance company looked at. There is two parts where the underwriting, one is physical hazard, means physically, and occupation is one part of physical. But then you have moral hazard, which is totally very difficult to underwrite. A person can change. Okay, a successful businessman, because of his lifestyle, frequent customer to Genting, then he can be moral hazard. Why? Because he may be running into this, and then because of moral hazard, insurance very hard to underwrite moral hazards. A person from good can be bad, the kind of things. So in the context of that, it can happen. So for the list of occupation hazards, occupation classification, you can always refer back to the brochure or the proposal that you look at. Generally, sedentary in nature. Sedentary in nature is bad for health. Those people who sit in the office like us. Okay, class 1. Professionals, managerial, administrative, clerical, wholesale, retailing, trade, lawyers, doctors, and all that. Marketing, work supervisory nature, whose duties involve traveling in connection with his or her profession. Business, not involving any form of manual labor or the use of tools and machinery or exposure to any specific special hazard. So the question some of you in your mind is, he's a work branch, he's a manager of the insurance company, but at home he likes to do DIY. He likes to make his own furniture. That's hobby. Okay. Here is within the special hazard, sometimes moral manual labor. But of course, if he likes to climb coconut trees, please declare to insurance company lah. Okay, then you have class 3 occupation that will determine, of course, why, because the risk of the occupation, the works that he may have, will means the higher the risk. Like earlier examples that may use the drivers, then we may also have manual workers and things like that. Option benefit, the premium is so cheap for the motorcycling, $45 a year for plan A. So you look at the issue here, plan class 3 occupation. Then you look at, you see, sometimes when you say, he doesn't ride motorcycle. You see, for example, I still have a motorcycle license. In my early days, I ride motorcycle, or rather my teen days. Okay, my license is still valid, but I never ride for the past 30 years. But one fine day, I go to Pulau, say, for example, I go to Pulau Tioman. I go and rent a motorcycle. After so many years, never ride, and in the process, I langgar the tree and fracture my leg. That is motorcycling, my friend. Okay, so sometimes you, I don't, I got a license, but I don't ride. But it's okay to look at the premium. Say, for example, class 1, you're looking at $24, $40, $58, and goes up. Even if you look at the issue about plan 7, the rich, high income, high net worth person, 225. If 225 we take and divide by 365, even less than $1 a day. These are the things. You may have a hobby of riding a bicycle, because there are plenty of people out there, the class 1 occupations, they actually on a weekend ride their Harley Davidson, ride their big bikes as a hobby. This is one part where I think the motorcycling extension is very important. Okay, now I'm going to go into the policy exact wordings that if you do have, then you'll see. Give me a minute. Can you see this policy? GreatShield Active Personal Accident Policy. You notice this is the policy, the insurance company, blah, blah, blah. By the way, formerly known as overseas assurance, you have to put that after a number of years before you change name. This is requirement under the Companies Act that you have to, because you're changing name from OEC, Overseas Assurance, to Great Eastern General Insurance. So these are, again, you have to put it in name and address. On the right side, you see the logo and you see the stamp duty paid. That is what I meant, that this contract, the $10 stamp duty, have to be paid to legalize this contract of insurance. Very simple English. I will go in through it, and then where I highlight, I will do a quick explanation on it. Okay. Now, there is in this a requirement under the FSA, the Bank Negara rules, where you must state what is the consumer insurance contract. In every insurance policy, you see this word, consumer insurance contract, unrelated to your trade, business, or profession. So if it is a personal accident that you bought, I bought, it is unrelated to my trade, it's my personal. So it will be a consumer insurance contract. By the way, you will probably have heard about employee benefits, where the company buys on the life of the employees. That is under a group personal accident insurance. When it's a group personal accident insurance, you can ask the client, the boss, okay, buying employee benefits, can list down the names of employees he wants to give cover. So the company on the life of the employees, ABC Sundaram Berhad on the life of the employees. So then the insured can be choosing that. So again, it becomes a group personal accident policy. But the cover could be the same, but it have to be arranged separately for pricing and so forth. That's where, if it is a group in the name of the company, that it becomes a non-consumer insurance contract. To simplify the explanation. Non-consumer insurance contract relates to trade, business. You may have your trade and business and all that. For example, like agency, consultancy, you have your name of your company is agency, but you have got staff. By the way, you are also considered the boss. You can also insure yourself under the company policy. Now, when you insure that under company, you can expense the premium paid out as expenditure in your business. This is what it means, non-consumer insurance contract relating to your trade, business, or profession. Now, the other point just now, just to recap, to move backwards, just now we were talking about nomination form and blah, blah, blah. Okay, now the other method of doing it is between husband and wife. Insurable interest exists. Is another good method that the husband is the policyholder on the life of the wife, or the wife has a policyholder on the life of the husband. So in the event of anything happening to that insured person, the policy paying claim is even much faster because the name of the policyholder. Okay, in the context here, the name of the policyholder is the policyholder himself as the insured person. Then the nomination form is very important. But in the context of the company, say for example, ABC Sindaran Berhad on the life of Koo Kin Man, anything happened to me, the money is paid to the company. So in the context of insurable interest, husband and wife, that's another method to go around it because it is allowable under the law. Insurable interest must exist. Okay, the important part of any PA policy is to look at the definition. Shall mean a sudden accident, a sudden unforeseen and fortuitous external event happening. So it's very clear. Now, the words of this definition of accident have changed over the years. Last time, years then, they have this, what they call accident, for external, visible, violent means and all that. Those were the words of the old type of actually old model lah. You know, you buy a car last time, no turbo. Now it's also difference of the policies getting better. Okay, so defining it is sudden impact. So anything that is not sudden, for example, a person has planned to be having an accident. It's not sudden. So all this is the word sudden. Even for example, in property insurance, property fire insurance, also the word is sudden. Unforeseen, fortuitous, is nobody expect and nobody expect, and is something that happened out of it. That's where the defining word of accident, and this happened to the insured person. Insured person in this category is the person being insured under the policy. Unforeseen, fortuitous, accidental event. So if you would like to understand what is this meaning of fortuitous, you can always ask Mr. Google. Mr. Google have to go and find from Mr. Google. So you can ask Mr. Google to understand the word fortuitous external event. External is outside the internal. Okay. So it can happen all this, defining the word. So was that incident that caused the insured's death due to an accident? So you need to re-look back into the circumstances of accident. This is how the insurance claims handling PA claims are concerned. I mean, straight away you see road accident, die there, okay lah. But then what happened if out in the middle of the night, there's a road accident, he bang into what do you call, bang into a ravine and fall down. So there's no traffic, no nothing. What happened? Is he drunk? Is he sleeping? Sleeping different now. So it's, but then whether it is the intention, whether the accident was it an intention, means to say between the borderlines of committing suicide or attempt to commit suicide, that he got injured. These were the defining moments, because each and every case of a death or accident can be different. Now, I also underline the word accidental. That means that due to an accident, so accident is defined. that not from any natural causes. So natural causes can also be old age. It's not payable in this policy, but the life policy will take care of that. So natural causes, that's very clear. Biological agent and also pathological disease producing microorganism, biological producing toxin, all these including genetically modified, all defined into the thing that cause illness or death to human. So again, looking at that, what was the word in principles of insurance will be the real proximate cost of the accident, or proximate cost of the death. Okay, so things like capital sum insured, I won't be highlighting, that is quite important. Now, the question here, they also define chiropractic, sensei, bone setter. Bone setter is, I don't know where they find the word, English word for bone setter. It's actually chita, chita kind of things like that. Bone setter is very much an Oriental, or rather our Asian, Chinese bone setter, sensei, all these things. Chiropractic in the Western world is recognized, but in here, I think is not really recognized as a medical profession, chiropractic. Now, chiropractic, somebody last week I saw a video or a YouTube clip or something like that. After chiropractic is paralyzed. Then these things that happen. So he went to chiropractic and then he's accidentally paralyzed. The policy will not pay. And you can also sue the person or not. It's up to them. Again, here they talk about qualified medical, somebody that recognized, not the sensei who sit under the tree and produce all these kind of things. So license and things, training and all these requirements shall be part of the requirement of the policy. So in essence, when you look at the sensei, whether it's recognized, so is that what you call TCM, traditional Chinese medicine, traditional Chinese, is it having its certificate recognized? Yes and no. So very simple. Dongxin has got a section for TCM. Yes, all that is certified and qualified. Claimant, insured or insured person, or named nominee of legal representative. You see the words. You see the words here, nominee, legal, personal representative, next of kin, legal. Legal, personal. When you look at the word legal, it will always be determined in the court of law. Dental treatment due to accident only. So your crowning and all this just is not part of the cover. Injury, accident, insured person, it's all that. Loss. Okay. What is loss? Reference to limbs shall mean physical severance or total and irrecoverable loss of use. Now, in the old days, our policy, loss of arm means severance. What the severance means, the whole arm got to come out before you can pay the claim. But in this context of the policy defining or total and irrecoverable loss of use, a hand may be paralyzed after the accident. That is due as irrecoverable loss of use. Okay, of course the severity is the whole arm comes up. In the old days, back in the 70s and 80s, some of these policies PA say total severance. That means the hand must come out before the policy pay. Hearing, loss of speech, all these are defined. Medical expenses is all again part and parcel of it. Medical practitioner, physician, all these qualified. Okay, the other word here, permanent disablement, shall mean an injury falling into that category of benefit 2 means permanent disablement. Okay, and B is the important thing, is lasted for a continuous period of 365 days from the date of accident. So when you look at this context, the 365 is 1 year from the date of accident, with no hope of improvement at the end of that period, then will be categorized as permanent disablement. And in most cases like this, either if it is severe, it's very straightforward. That means the whole, for example, the whole finger, because he every time put up the middle finger, the middle finger got chopped off, the whole thing is gone. So there is no need to wait for that period. But if it is, say for example, accident and then he loses the strength of his hand over a period of time, so within that 1 year period from the date of accident, it must be from the date of accident and no other cause, the intervening cause. Permanent disablement, okay? Meaning of that. Pre-existing illness shall mean the illness which has been diagnosed or presents symptoms require medical treatment prior to the commencement date of the insurance, irrespective of whether treatment was actually received. Now, very much the word in PA insurance using the word of pre-existing very much also because very much more importantly stated, defined in a medical insurance policy. But it says here as pre-existing illness. That means before he buy the policy, he has already have this disability. For example, before he buy the policy, his right arm has already lost the use, that means the strength of it, because he had an accident. That is pre-existing illness. Okay, it can also mean pre-existing. Before he buy the policy, he was already diabetic. He was already hypertensive. That is what they mean by pre-existing illness. Okay, the word pre-existing simply means before he buy the policy. It applies to both medical and in this context of the PA policy as well. Another very common thing is pre-existing. I'm using the example in a medical policy. He already know every day his stools, pangsai, the stool, berak pun keras sangat, selalu got to sit in the toilet. He already see blood, red blood dropping. What does it mean? He has already got pulse. That is pre-existing. So he go and buy the policy and later he wants to go for treatment for that. The policy said no pay because you already have this. Whether you actually sought treatment or not, whether you got treatment was actually received. People don't have that. So in context, he has pulse already. So that is pre-existing. Now, another important part here I've highlighted in anything that is public conveyance, because your section of the policy that look at public conveyance for, remember, the double indemnity, triple indemnity for death and permanent disablement. Here is defined very clearly what is public conveyance. Any passenger carrying vehicle made or intended to travel on land or water operated by a carrier duly licensed provide transportation of fare-paying passenger. Now, the key element word fare-paying passenger exclude all forms of chartered transportation, tour, and private arrangement. Just now, the gentleman, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Ong, talking about driving to Hap Chai, that is not public conveyance. Okay, chartered transportation. Now, in the context of a going holiday, the tour operator chartered the whole bus. That is not defined in this policy as public conveyance. So it's fare-paying passenger, public conveyance. You take the LRT, you buy a ticket, you are public conveyance. You take the flight from Penang to KL, you buy Air Asia or buy Malindo or you buy Firefly, that is fare-paying passenger. If your friend have the aeroplane, give you a lift, that is not public conveyance. Okay, of course, it will relate to taxis as well. That is, we have to pay a fee, a fare-paying passenger. And not fair skin, is fair, F-A-R-E, paying, that means a fare-paying passenger, buying a ticket, have a ticket. Excluding helicopters. Okay. All forms of chartered flight, they are sometimes tours. In that context, some of these chartered flights. 2 weeks ago, I was in Mata Fair. So the guy was saying that, if you travel within the month, say December, they will have special arrangement with MAS for chartered flight to Hokkaido. That is chartered flight. But it's whether they pay. So I buy the ticket from online. I buy the ticket to fly to UK, flying by MAS. That is what do you call a public conveyance. I buy the ticket on my own. I buy the ticket that I fly. If it is on a what do you call a not a non-chartered flight. So this is where the definitions very clearly says. So I go back to my earlier statement. I said insurance policy very fair one, very fair. Everything is stated there. You know, before it happened, it's all stated that when this happened, the policy will pay. If this happened, the policy don't pay. So actually, the answers are all there. Public sports event will relate to very clearly Zumba, Qigong, Tai Chi, yoga, maybe it's a marathon run, walkathon, organized. And GE has quite regularly, year in, year out, organized such event. This is where public sports event. Personal effects is also defined here. You will see the word jewelry, watch, cosmetic pack, headscarf, stone, and mobile device. So I said, you see the word mobile device is also there. Personal effects, lots of personal effects. Now, terrorism, like I earlier discussed, I earlier elaborated what is terrorism. Okay, committed for political, religious, ideology, whatever purpose that you do. That is terrorism, and most of the time this is state of the government, intention to disrupt the government, a violent act and all that. Permanent disablement, just now I touched on it, is injury suffered by insured person, as we looked at that earlier. Okay, eligibility, look at the age. Malaysian citizen or a PR of Malaysia, or a foreigner having a valid work permit or student visa, Malaysia. So if it is a expatriate working in Malaysia with class one occupation with category, and right up to the other foreigner who is a laborer, who's a Bangla who's working here, he's also legally having a work permit. So the category of eligibility is clearly stated. Age not less than 30 years and not more than 70. I've already shared that with you earlier. So when you look at this, it means children can be covered. Nowadays, parents are very especially protective. You can also ask them to insure, the parents on the life of the kids. Kids, honestly, why some policies don't want to include kids is because children are yet to be in a stable position to define, to know what is dangerous and what is not dangerous. So the exploration of the kids exploring, it is exploring the world, puts him into risk of danger. For example, like crossing the road, he may not know that. So that's why the risks are much higher. But then this policy does provide eligibility to provide for children. So if you have a customer who's what you call a father or a mother that have got children, have to insure them, and because they don't have here a family PA, so you can put it in and insure them separately. Separately means the father may be on plan 7, the children may be only on plan 1 and 2, that kind of things. Okay, this is where the renewability after the age of 70 up to 100 is subject to underwriting evaluation, subject to underwriting of the present health if renewed up to the age of 100. Now, 100, now how many people say 100? Some people say this is a sales gimmick, but I think it's still relevantly valid for the average age. What do you call the lifespan age is 70 plus 80. It's still covered, so that's important. Why the older the people get, the less the risk gets higher, because hearing bad this kind of thing, the danger, the agility of the body is slower to react. All this adds on to risk factors. Maximum capital sum insured allowable for each insured person is very here. Entry age 30 to 15, 280,000. Very, very clear. Entry age between 16 to 70 at 380 is the max sum insured. Age 16 to 60, maximum 1.380, the highest plan. And for class 3 occupation, 280. So it's very clearly rated here to understand the selection of plan. Maximum for a child of 30 days old to 15 is from either you can buy 1, 2, and 3 is the maximum, is plan 3. So I've elaborated earlier on double indemnity for death. So if it is death, it's double indemnity. So it's elaborated earlier. And as I move on, then the next one will be the triple indemnity for total permanent disability. Remember, death and total disablement is two different things. Total permanent disabled means that the insured person is not dead. He did not pass away, he did not die. So his death is accidental. So triple means higher. Again, I shared with you just now about capital sum insured. If it is due to terrorism, then the cover for terrorism will move on to accidental death due to terrorism. That is item number 6. Okay. Renewal bonus, 5% per year up to 100%. Death due to mosquito bite, ATM withdrawal. Now, this is what you will see schedule of benefits. Now, let's go down to looking at the definition. Motorcycling extension, just now we talked about motorcycling extension. There's a premium weekly benefit as well. There is this additional premium that I look at. Now, in defining this benefit 1 to 6, optional benefit 2 above, the payout for an insured person aged 71 old to 100 will be 50% of the capital sum insured or sum insured, as the case may be. So when you look at this benefit 2 above, optional benefit 2, motorcycling expenses, 50% you'll pay. For that age category of 70 to 100, it's only 50%. Because honestly, from 70 odd years old, I don't think he should be probably riding a motorcycle. Maybe he has a pillion rider, but these are the things that the older the person go. By the way, the people like me, I'm not reaching 70 yet, maybe another few years. But in that category, the most important thing is always remember falling is a dangerous thing. Falling, the issue of bone fracture is going to be a big problem. So a lot of issues about old senior citizens that in this age of 71 to 100 is the fear of falling can cause severe disability. He may be so-called terminally disabled. Avoidance of doubt, renewal bonus is not applicable for benefit 4, 5, and 6. So you refer back to 4, 5, and 6. Okay, double indemnity, triple indemnity, and the terrorism, that renewal bonus is not applicable in that category. Okay? Everything is clearly mentioned in the policy. This is what it means by, I said earlier, percentage. Table of benefits payable in percentage. 100% means of the capital sum insured. Okay, accidental death, total disablement, loss of both hand, loss of both feet, loss of one hand and one foot. Now, these are the things that can happen. Total irrecoverable loss of sight in both eyes, 100%, 100%. So you're looking at that context. Of course, if it is due to a road accident that is permanently disabled because its spine has been fractured and beyond multiple fractured and is permanently 100%, this will be inclusive of the renewal bonus. That is where the difference into falling into the category of the policy. You see, loss of arm at shoulder. Arm at shoulder, that means from the shoulder down, the whole hand is paralyzed, loss of use totally. Or severance means the whole arm comes out. That is also 100%. So in the context of what caused the injury, loss of both hands, he may be crushed in a car accident, or maybe he's involved in a robbery that chop off his whole hand, or maybe he's involved in a fight. So the context of whether his fight is provoked, unprovoked, these are the circumstances surrounding the nature of the injury, surrounding whether it's accidental or not accidental. So defining in each and every case, then before the insurance company pays out, they will determine whether this is all within the conditions they define in the policy. Now, interesting part here is this, one eye except perception of light, loss of 4 fingers, 1 thumb, and thumb of 1 hand, 53%. So 53% of the capital total capital sum insured. Loss of 4 fingers, okay? Loss of thumb, loss of phalange, 3 phalange. Accidents can happen. The guy was the insured, or rather was what do you call in going on a holiday at the people chopping the coconut. He also want to experience the chopping of coconut. He instead of chop the coconut, he chop his thumb off. Accident, defining into that way. So you look at the nature of what he has. Loss of middle finger, loss of how many? 3 phalanges. That means three small pieces. How many percent and percent? But in all this, there's always this metacarpals and all this. The percentage goes down. Okay, loss of toes, loss of hearing, loss of speech. Okay, now the word here there is always in it is where a disability is not specified in the above benefit, company has the absolute discretion to determine the percentage of compensation payable. So if anything that is not specifically mentioned in this schedule of what do you call schedule of benefits payable, then the company will have to determine that is, of course, it is a case of what you call determine the percentage. So if it is confirmed that the accident is genuine and the company will pay, for example, the company can say, no, we offer you only 2% for this. You can always appeal, request instead of 2%, you ask for 20%. So hopefully they cut to 10%, you get 10% now. So this is an area that has got its own benefit in it. So looking at this, now I move you to description of benefits. So if you want to read in line the description of benefits shown in the earlier pages, here, description, schedule of benefits, then the benefits are described below. Okay, accidental death is described benefit 1. Benefit 2 is the permanent disablement, the permanent disablement occurring independently of any other cause shall within 365 days result in permanent. So that's a duration of 1 year from that injury, then is permanently defined, permanently certified. It needs to be certified by the relevant medical fraternity or what doctors and all that specialists to determine that is a loss of use. Okay, and the key word here is which solely and independently of any other cause. Okay, solely and independently of any other cause. For the avoidance of doubt, anyone paid under B under 2, that means if it is anything paid under B2 means a permanent disablement, subsequent claim arising for benefit 2, sum insured shall be reduced accordingly percentage, lesser the amount either paid under this 2. Medical expenses also defined. So you look at the limit medical expenses. Per accident, So also defining chiropractic sensei up to limit of 1,000 per visit, limit per in the event of injury subject to a limit of 100 per visit. maximum $1,000. So this is where the sort of like the benefit limit will be set rather than totally set zero. I think $100 is by and large quite a reasonable amount per visit basis. Now, this is another unique part covered for illness. Of course, there's a 30-day waiting period. Even like a medical policy, you have the 30 days waiting period from the date commencement, from the date, insofar as this particular section, benefit 3, enforce the insured person contract any of the following illness, namely dengue fever, malaria, Zika virus, Japanese encephalitis, yellow fever, scarlet fever, or Coxsackie. So COVID is not in here. Of course, it says here the 30-day period shall not apply on renewal. Of course, if it is a policy renewed, then this 30-day thing will not apply. It's only for new insured first-year policy, 30 days waiting period. Okay, defining the double indemnity is all here again. Remember, this is a contract which is legal and enforceable in the court of law. So if any ambiguity, any kind of dispute that comes out, if there's any ambiguity, anything unclear in this policy, it is detrimental to the insurance company, because this is the insurance company is the author of this document. So if there's any benefit of that, will be given to the insured. That is under law. Very clearly mention everything here from double indemnity for accidental death, and it's very clearly mentioned here. Once the policy is paid out, of course, if it is death, then the policy is no longer valid. It's already ceased to be enforced at all. So you can see the highlighted words: capital sum insured, accidental death, public sports event, public conveyance. All these are words defined in the earlier section when we look at that. Defining what is capital sum insured, defining what is terrorism, defining what is the insured person, what is defining the word public conveyance, public sports event. Everything is stated very clearly there. Okay, benefit 6. Just now we talked about it, permanent disablement due to terrorism. Now, I've given you one example that this is an act of terrorism, that shooting in the airport, the things that is the government declared act of terrorism. Shall not include any act of nuclear, chemical, and biological terrorism, regardless of anyone, whatever the cause. So remember, in this context of terrorism, NCB, okay, nuclear, chemical, biological is not covered. Renewal bonus is also here, and also defining what is no claim made under benefit 2 and 3. Now, here the unique thing is renewal bonus increase 5% of capital sum insured up to 100%, of capital sum insured or age 70, whichever come first, come earlier. It means after age 70, this renewal bonus thing is no longer applicable. Continuous defining the renewal bonus. No claim is made under section 2 or 3, meaning to say 2 is permanent disablement, 3 is medical benefit. In that preceding 12 months, if a claim is made, then the renewal bonus will be stopped and that is forfeited, and the coverage under the policy will revert to the capital sum insured. Meaning to say, if there's claims under permanent disablement and or medical expenses, then the renewal bonus factor will be stopped, and then you go back to the capital sum insured. Of course, as they renew subsequent renewal, then you will accumulate again. Okay, it is all defined here. This is the clear explanation of the policy. So we look at this mosquito bite. Okay, death due to mosquito bite. Now here is stated only three dengue fever, malaria, and Zika virus. Of course, the certification, the proof, the owners of proof, again, will be very much certified by the doctors or hospitals or whatever the case may be. Then only it be dengue fever, malaria, or Zika virus. Okay, so these three mosquito bites is again, if you look at it in the context, why this particular active policy is unique in this way it pays. But if it is not, generally this mosquito don't kill people. The virus that they carry that kills. So in that context of virus that they carry that cause the death, it's not due to an accident. It is due to other intervening causes, which is illness that caused the death. So this is not per se a PA, but in this policy, they specifically have this section to cover this dengue fever, malaria, Zika virus. So if you ask the question of, no need to ask the question about due to COVID, because it's not mentioned here. ATM withdrawal, 4 times a year. But then, of course, this to me, if it is genuinely a robbery, it is okay. If it is say one policy year 3 times, I tell you, probably you look at whether the insured person is so bad luck or maybe issue of moral hazard. You know, wow, cash withdrawal, snatch, theft within 24 hours. But of course, you will need to make a police report, cash theft at ATM. Because I believe now most of the ATM has got CCTV. So he can say walk outside, he walk outside 100 meters from the CCTV ATM machine, he's got robbed. Maximum 4 occurrence. So if a claimant has got 1 year claim 4 times, I tell you, insurance company will probably look at the renewal, want to accept, don't have, because it's issue about, is it a moral risk? Is it a moral hazard? So it's very hard to underwrite. Police report is mandatory. Ambulance fees, hospitalized, discharged from hospital and recover, require the use of ambulance services as a result of a covered accident occurring during the period of insurance. The insured person is hospitalized or discharged. So you see the word hospitalized and discharged. Some policies, they say cover ambulance, but only hospitalized, discharged, tada. Discharge, you ask your family people to pick you up. They won't pay for this fees if this. But you see, the word here is hospitalized or discharged. Again, this is the reimbursement part. You need the original bills and receipts. Hospital income is more like an allowance. 24 hours, how many days? 1 day, 30 days, maximum 30. So this is a paid allowance of $100. Supplement allowance, vitamins and supplements ordered by the doctor up to this amount within 30 days of post-hospitalization due to an accident. It must be due to an accident. Allowance, inconvenience, accident, lump sum 500 per accident has inconvenience allowance. Definition of personal effects. Now, I look at this bereavement allowance for accidental death as a result of mosquito bite. Here, the word is expanded, limited to dengue fever, malaria, Zika virus, Japanese encephalitis, yellow fever, scarlet fever, Kawasaki. You see, the word here is expanded, bereavement allowance. So what happens if a person dies of malaria or dengue? So you have the earlier part due to mosquito bite, which is here. Benefit number 8, due to this, then the bereavement allowance is also payable. Okay. Here, you see the words are expanded more. The earlier, the one is mosquito bite death. death due to dengue, malaria, Zika virus. There's no Japanese encephalitis. By the way, Japanese encephalitis, if you Google, ask Mr. Google, it simply means sickness. In the essence, if you remember, Malaysia some years ago have this Nipah virus involving the Bukit Pelandok in near PD area in Negeri Sembilan. Some of you may hear the word Japanese and stuff like that. Is a high fever. If you reach a high fever, then it becomes sleeping sickness and just die off. That was the early last time we were hit with Nipah virus during the time when the animals from animals, they say the bats and all, they eating the fruits to the animals, and then from animals the virus jumped to humans. That was the time many years back. Okay. So remember, this is very clear. So like I said earlier, if dengue is also there, dengue due to mosquito bite, you pay that amount plus this bereavement. Personal liability. This is where accidents occurring anywhere in the world, excluding US and America and Canada. Now you see in all the Malaysian policies on liability, whether it's professional liability, personal liability, public liability, and all this liability, the word they always exclude the US and Canada. Occurring anywhere in the world, so the accident, because in US and Canada, I mean, you walk in the street, you take a stone and throw, you sure kena one lawyer, one advocate, so all these people, everything sue. Even the simple thing that they can sue. Many years ago, some of you may heard about this court case against McDonald. What happened is drive-through McDonald. Just to give you share with you that the particular, they sue McDonald and the girl won. The lady drive-through, so he ordered hot coffee. In his car, got nowhere to put. He put the coffee in between the thighs. He wearing very short skirt or no skirt, I don't know lah. Put between the thighs and hold the cup of coffee. He drive the whole coffee spill on the leg. Sue McDonald. He won the case. Because McDonald did not take the necessary precautionary care to tell them that this one can cause. So therefore, you see nowadays, most after that things, most of the incident that the coffee drinking now is spill proof. You see now how the container of the coffee. I'm also drinking coffee here. It is spill proof, sort of things like that. So in America, the laws are different. Okay, the key word here is legally liable. So when you look at the word legally, it means court of law. Liable. Are you legally liable? Okay. In the context of driving a car, that is motor third-party liability. It's the same thing here. It's cost in the using the car, causing an injury accident. Here has a personal incident, a personal liability to somebody. You take your dog for a walk, the dog bite people, you kena lah. This is liability of that nature. Okay. Death to any person or loss or damage to property belonging to any person that walks. So in the context of a person, in us, we as alone, if I'm running a business, having say for example, a bakery shop or maybe a laundry shop, the walkway that my workers splash the water on the walkway, somebody fall because of the water, is slippery floor, you'll be liable to be sued by that, causing injury to that person, the public. So that is what is in the context of a public liability for a commercial consideration, but it's in personally, you can be liable. Okay. Of course, requirements of the policy section here is must inform the company, become aware of a claim, because here this section is about the company protecting you against being sued, the damages, and also the legal costs involved in defending you. That is where the part of the policy is about. The limit of liability is 1 million Malaysian ringgit, okay, including award and the legal costs involved. Remember, this is an act. This will not include libel and slander. Libel and slander means you say something wrong, then you go to court, you lost. Like, for example, 2 weeks ago, one of the MP sued, and then he had to come out. Then the crowdfunding was 2 million to pay for that. That is different. That is not causing, that is because the mouth simply say thing causing defamation. So now, 2 days ago, you see taking a libel defamation suit by Lim Guan Eng against the previous Prime Minister, Muhyiddin. Those are not in this category of personal liability, okay? Causing injury, negligence, causing injury, or damage to property. This is where the defining section of this is. Again, the rules will require. Now, the important thing is we can only pay compensation in respect of judgment delivered or obtained from a court of competent jurisdiction in Malaysia, or costs or expenses of litigation recovered from an insured person who are incurred in and recoverable in Malaysia. Such all these long words is simply mean a judgment by a Malaysian court, expenses, lawyers fees, expenses recovered from insured, incurred in and recoverability in Malaysia. So what happened? You say you're traveling overseas. You said earlier, you said worldwide, you're traveling. So if that person sues you in America, or for that fact sues, don't say America, like America and Canada is excluded. So UK, or go to Thailand, sue you there in Thailand, it doesn't make, you need to come to Malaysian court to sue. There are cases where such incident, because it comes to Malaysian court to sue for this act committed in their country. That is the requirement of the policy. Because why? Outside the country, we got no control. We cannot manage the claims for that fact. So it had to be competent in Malaysia. The act may be committed outside the country, but for this section to come in, that what you call claimant or third party person must come to Malaysia to sue. One typical case, Atantuya, the parents come here and sue in Malaysian court. That's an example. Jurisdiction, Malaysia court. Motorcycling extension, I share with you. Section include, then only is covered. But here, you have to look at the defining words, which is due to motorcycling, whether it's rider or pillion, provided at the time of accident, the insured is wearing a safety helmet, rider, insured person is that, possession, valid driving license, is not engaged in any practice of racing or hill climbing contest. So it's very clear. So if you have got those, what they call gurney drive, weekend racing, motorcycle, those are all out, illegal. Speed trials, even if it's duration testing, all these motorcycling injury arising from this engagement in these activities are not covered. Okay, as we move on, I will just share with you to just, what is this Disappearance Act? Okay, disappearance clause, very simple. If you recall the issue about MH370, which anniversary already now, but how many years already, 370. So the thing is, all these are considered, you can't find evidence of about. So it's the policy provide here to cover is not found within 1 year after the disappearance, and sufficient evidence is produced satisfactory. Now, for example, last month earthquake in Turkey, buried, there were so many lives still unaccounted for. There's so many people who considered in this category of disappearance. What happened if somebody, an insured, is there, buried in the rubble, cannot find, disappeared? So the policy will still have to enter to pay, even though they cannot have a physical evidence of the person's, insured person's death. especially it says here involved in aircraft or at sea or in natural calamity, and the insured person body is not found within 1 year after the disappearance. Now they are on historical crack. There are people who under this clause disappeared and subsequently the money was paid, then come out again. There were cases of that kind of thing. Okay, so effectively what happened? If it is the provision of this clause provides that if such a thing, the company can recover, but that will be years later. But that provide a cost that the insurance company can seek recovery after he has paid out such claims. That payment of benefit made the insured is found to be alive, such payment shall be immediately refunded to us. Shall be immediately. The fella take the money the next, okay, no, you go and chase after them. That is under the word disappearance. So this is where the relevance. So another unfortunate incident, but in our landslide history case, which is in Padang Kali, is it? The near Genting there, the landslide, but the bodies were all found. Those are all covered, by the way. Exposure clause. Exposure clause, it simply means exposed to an element, but the insured person may not have died. But due to the exposed to the elements, nature resulting in the insured person's death. For an example here, a car accident on the way down from Genting, the insured person went down, called down the ravine, he's broken, but he did not die. But because of nobody found him, that he's exposed to the cold, next morning found him dead. He died because of the frost. Very common in winter countries, that accident, they don't know a person is exposed to the snow and then next morning found dead. These are things called exposure to the elements of nature. Another one example here is one of those things, that accident and is on the roadside, nobody, by by then it was raining heavily, and then he unfortunate thing, by the time they found him, I think that he already passed away due to whatever exposed to the rain and cold and all that. He may have died of pneumonia and things like that. That's where the exposure clause comes in, which is a good thing to have in the policy with such extensions. Okay, harmful insects, snake, animal bites clause. Arising from harmful insects, snakes, and animal bites. Very simple. Harmful insects, they are some type of bees, killer bees. Actually, the sting can kill people. Okay, if you know what is a pari, stingray, they call it. Stingray, the sting can kill people. So this will fall into that category. Snake bite, animal bites. If it is being attacked by a tiger, should die lah. So it will be part and parcel of this. Okay, arising from harmful insect. But then there again, there are some people. Some people have got what you call, especially succumb to certain bees. Certain bees sting may not kill a normal standard person, but it can kill some people who are very susceptible to this type of stings. So it can be a situation, but it's harmful insects, snakes, and animal bites. So that's it, part and parcel of that, to expand the cover of this policy. Death and permanent disablement, all medical expenses involved in this aspect of harmful insects. Unprovoked murder and assault. So again, this is where unprovoked murder and assault. So the question is, who started the fight lah? In most incidents about such things, claiming unprovoked murder, fighting among a few flirts, because it's a robbery, it's a different thing lah. It's a murder, unprovoked murder. So the issue here is whether to prove is provoked or not provoked. So most of the time in such cases will be very much defined by the police authorities. This one you will need to have that, because it need to be reported to the police. And if it is some thought like a fight outside a nightclub, then banyak cakap lah, the government will be needing more investigations and all that. Hijacking, again here, transit land, ticket holding passenger, or while traveling in an aircraft as a ticket holding passenger over established routes. Hijacking covered that is part and parcel of it. Hijack the bus, or hijack the train, or hijack the aeroplane, and then subsequently in the process it can lead to death and permanent disablement. Gas, smoke, drowning, food poisoning clause, all these. So the line of drawing is a permanent disablement hereby defined resulting from accidental gas smoke, accidental drowning, or food and drink poisoning. Now, the word here is accidental. So when you look at the word accidental, you go back to the definition of accident. So drink and food poisoning. I've got one case, attempted suicide, can be also out of the question. Drink and food poisoning. So it's drink and food poisoning that accidentally ingested, accidentally taken it. So that's where, with or without any sign of external or violent visible injury. So you can see this policy said whether it's external or internal for drink and food poisoning is all right. Intoxication clause, which is probably one of those clauses that most of you will be asking question. Result intoxication by alcohol, except where the insured person is a driver intoxicated by alcohol. So clearly saying, is the passenger okay lah? My friend, intoxication clause, a lot of us in their mind think about driving. There are cases where people walk down the staircase in a restaurant. The staircase is only about a few hundred steps. He couldn't even walk. He collapsed. He's so drunk that he rolled down the staircase and died. So it is very clear in this essence of intoxication clause that we here refining it very much towards driving. In that extent, the policy will cover. So there are cases where people walking from the restaurant, he have to walk to the car, somebody walk him to, he's not going to drive, but he walked to the car, he crossed the drain, he put his leg, he fell inside the drain, crashed his head, died. That is intoxication because his senses and he lost because of the alcohol intoxication that he will be dead. But what about drugs intoxication? Drugs will be out of the question. Okay, it has provided by the law. That means drugs that is prescribed by doctors, those drugs that is, illegal drugs, morphine, all these amphetamines and all these ice and all these, those are illegal drugs. You see, the word is also very clear, and or drugs which must be prescribed by a medical practitioner. Okay, not for the treatment of drug addiction. You see, the things, it's very clear. Natural disasters, you know what is natural disasters? Right and strike, very clear. Just to prompt you a question. Durian season, you go to the durian farm, you think it's so funny. You see all the durian season, I go to the farm and you look at the trees, you stand under the tree and look at the fruits. What happened if one were to fall down and crush the head and died? Is that accident? I leave that open. I don't have the answer. Okay. Now, in every policy, one of the methods to really understand the policy, what it covers and don't cover, first thing you go and read is read the exclusions. So anything that is not in the exclusion, you can then say it's covered. Any insurance policy that you refine it, then you look at, the first thing you look at the exclusions, what the policy excludes. Then only later you look at that, oh, these are the definitions of the policy. exclusion, war, all this will be out. So if in the context of war, a foreign enemy hostility, whether war declared or not. So anybody who's traveling to Ukraine now and exposed to any of this Russia and Ukraine war thing, so it's not going to be covered. Again, repeat on the chemical, nuclear, chemical, biological terrorism. Pre-existing condition, illness is all stated here. Childbirth, pregnancy, parasite and all that. Okay, why I highlighted this is involved with hazardous sports. Okay, highlighted here, hazardous sports, winter sports, ice hockey, sea angling. I go to sea fishing is out, is exclusion already. Boating or yachting beyond 5 kilometers off the shoreline. So there is this allowance of within shoreline, so it's within the shoreline is safer. Scuba diving, unless the insured is a member of a recognized diving club and holds a valid diving license, diving under the guidance of professional diving instructor. So it's all defined. It doesn't say it's not covered totally for diving, but these are the requirements. Horseback polo playing, this is not for you, but for people. Horseback riding as a hobby is categorized as good to declare horseback hobby polo riding. Steeple chasing, boxing, wrestling, go-kart, parachuting, hang gliders, skydiving. Last few days ago, was it last week? One fellow went for bungee diving in Thailand. The cable snapped. He survived. Those are exposures to hazardous pastime as well. Bear rock, hand rock, or cliff climbing. Now, when we look at this cliff climbing, bear, hand rock, there's always this question, hey, I go to mountain, I go to climb Mount Kinabalu. That is okay lah. Okay, hunting outside the territorial limits of Malaysia. Well, if it's hunting in Malaysia, okay lah. Motorsports rallies, competition, speed testing, reliability test, racing of any kind other than on foot, professional or semi-professional sports. So in the category of taking part in motor racing, motorsports racing, rallies, these are out as an exclusion in the policy. So if ever you have any of your clients, customers who has got this kind of activities or hobbies, it's always advisable, always safe and good to check with underwriters. Present the case as whatever that is in, and let the underwriter decide. If they accept, they may want to put a loading factor on the premium, by all means get it. And then make sure you see that endorsement in the policy to say that it's allowed, because that is very element key. By endorsement into the policy, that means the acknowledgement of the company to cover these activities. Usually, those days I also word out endorsement wording in consideration of a premium paid, blah blah blah. The policy is hereby extended to cover this. So that's how you word it and type in as an endorsement into the policy. That would supersede this particular exclusion stated for that hazardous activity.
Mr. Koo, Mr.
Yes.
Koo,
Yes.
Alan Ng here from Ipoh. I got one question regarding bungee jump and roller coaster. Is it covered on this policy?
Now, important we are looking at this. Is it stated here?
No.
No lah, so cover lah. But again, it says a social activity and event and all that. If you have a person who's frequently doing this for thrills, then it's good to sought the company's approval for that. Roller coaster, not here what? You go to Disneyland, you go to whatever world you want to see the roller coaster.
So no problem, huh?
Not stated here, ma. Exclusion mo kong ma.
I can go play lah.
Don't play so often 大咗咯 Because a person, by the way, it depends on your age lah. If people like us go die heart attack,
Okay.
okay, you're from Ipoh Leh Hoa, eh?
Very good, very good. Last time for Pacific. Mr. Cool.
Oh,
I'm a Pacific agent also.
你認得我啦。
Yes. You came Ipoh frequently last time, 5 years ago.
So everything okay? You are entitled to 2 principals.
No problem. Good.
Good. Quay sang again, your name, full name?
Alan Ng, Ipoh. Alan.
Who's so
Alan.
man?
Also, Alan Park is my
another friend.
brother.
Another friend. Yes. When I was in Ipoh usually doing branch manager Miss Young, we usually do the CPD training. I would come down to Ipoh and do.
Good.
Good to hear you.
Yes,
Nice to
yes.
hear your voice. Good to see you.
Thank
Later,
you.
hope chance you're okay with Joaquin. Okay. Thanks, Alan.
Welcome.
Flying, any aerial activity. Now, this aerial activity, there are some people who are actually a hobby of light aircraft flying. So please, if that's a requirement, that you need to seek the confirmation from the insurance company. Eh? Of course, military, all this will be out. Hand power driven woodworking machinist, circular saw. So you refer to this as occupational hazard or for reward. Anything for reward, the word used for reward does not include your hobby. Okay, so woodworking machinery, you know, all this is once you call the minute extra care must be there. The whole hand can be, the whole finger can be what do you call, blown away. Circular saws for the purpose of, you see the word here is for the purpose of occupation or for reward. So if it is that I'm doing my DIY at home, it's not for reward. So therefore, the policy is very good. It says everything already. Occupation, jockey, professional sports, all these steeplechase, quarry workers, all these are very clearly stated as work related. Criminal, illegal activities, very clear what is illegal, what is criminal. Traveling, whether as a driver in any tanker, lorry or truck used to carriage of timber or log, so timber logging industry is out. Motorcycling, if you are not covered. By the way, this is come to the condition applying to the whole policy. Change in risk, I highlighted this, is must notify us in writing immediately upon the occurrence. So in the process of 1 year policy, 12 months, he could have changed from the good times he was there. Then later when the MCO came in, he became a Grab driver. So please get that to inform, because that is an increase in the risk. So the company may charge a loading, or the company may say, so have to do it, because we do not want an incident where the accident, or rather happening of an accident during the pursuing of this driving. Again, of course, Grab driving, all this must be legalized, must be approved by the relevant authorities and all that. You know, I do not know whether you are familiar with the term, you know the term called private sapu. In the small villages, very common, $2-3. The fella take $2-3, get in the car to fetch him to town or fetch him to the house. At the roadblock, the driver, hey, tell, after you say we are all friends, that is out. That essence. So changing occupation or profession is very important. Change in risk or eligibility. Eligibility relates to the age. So the question of eligibility is also coming into the picture. Risk change. Now, what happened is this risk change can also mean to take not only profession or occupation, can also mean to take that his domicile resident Malaysian citizen. He has been assigned 3 years to Africa. Please inform insurance company whether the company will extend to cover work related. Let them know that is the thing out of it. Or for that fact, he may migrate to another country. So these are the factors. It can risk, it falls under here, change in risk. Because the social social environment, the socio-economical environment of that country would be different from here. And then, of course, it will also says that this is the part here, the company is very good, G is very good. You see, if there's a change in risk at the time of the accident giving rise to a claim, if we have not received any prior notification of any change, we shall reserve the right, number one, refuse the claim. Number two, reduce the claim amount payable proportionally by the percentage difference in the premium charge under the policy if the change of risk warrants a higher premium to be charged. A very good policy does not just say refuse to pay, that's it. But have this option here that is good. The company reserves the right. So that means the company is got a heart, this company, is to say no pay totally, is reduce the amount payable proportion. So for each and every merit of the case, that there is still this under B here. So if you do encounter any of these where great issues about non-informing and happening to do, it's only a minor thing. Instead of them saying, this is the clause that can help you. Instead of getting 0, you get 50% or whatever. This is where the company, look at this policy. It works for you, for the insured too, very well. But of course, if it is to an excluded occupation, then you may be null and void and all that kind of things. No transfer of risk, transfer of interest. Fraud, in any instance, fraud will be very much moral hazards that can happen. There are plenty in the insurance industry, such incidents happening, people who have got, one eye, already blinded one eye, he go and buy the policy, he don't declare. By the way, that in this particular case, it will also be categorized as a pre-existing condition, pre-existing illness. He one eye, then later buy the policy, then he later smashes that particular eye that is blind. And then all medical evidence prove that, yes, he's totally blinded. Due to the injury, he's totally blinded because that's how he conveyed it. Then the investigation, suspicion, the claims are then adjuster suspicion, go and investigate, then go to his balik, his kampung and just inquire. Then people who know, dia dulu pun sudah satu mata gone. So these are things that were real. There were many cases of fraud in the element of the claim, chop one hand, the hand also missing from the scene of the incident. Chop one hand is like very cleanly cut, like surgically remove one hand, but then the hand is missing. Chop one finger because it was so-called robbery of one diamond ring. These are plenty of such happenings, and of course, because of the moral issue hazards, what happened? Cannot pay along, make to buy policy, and then chop one finger, he claim how much. These things are all reality. So insurance company will also need to be vigilant because we will have to learn prior to this policy. So fraud, it will be one of the main things that will not be payable. Again, under number 5, remedies for misrepresentation for consumer insurance contract. So we know what's a consumer misrepresentation can be intentional misrepresentation or reckless, deliberate, intentional. That means it's hiding the material facts. Careless, innocently. So the company has got this, that they do consider these factors, whether it's intentional or mere innocent misrepresentation. The proposal form is an integral part. Okay, in every policy, there is this right to cancel. The company can cancel, you can cancel, but the serving of the notice and of course, returning of premiums is every policy. All general insurance policies that is not consumer kind of thing like personal insurance will have this particular percentage refund of annual premiums. And then of course, making a claim, 30 days and so forth. Now, this issue, we may also cancel this policy at the time by giving 14 days notice by registered letter to the last merchant. Upon cancellation, you proportionally reduce premium. So the insurance company can serve notice of cancellation like any other contract. Even your tenancy agreement you put in, there is always this escape clause. Whether it's 30 days or 14 days, is clearly stated that the right to cancel, either you or cancel or the company serve notice to cancel the policy. Now, here, if the insured is required to undergo any medical examination at our expenses, that means if the company requires, the company will pay for these expenses, even though this particular section won't be considered under part of medical, but this is assessing the claim further. The company will pay if the company require. So always this case when you will come across insured or agent telling you, you ask the fellow to give you a medical, are you going to pay the expenses? The policy says here yes already, if they require. In the event of accidental death, we shall be entitled to at our expenses to conduct any post-mortem examination where it is not prohibited by law. Now, the word prohibited by law and religious belief is two different words. So by law, then in the event of dispute on the cause of the insured person that it is not resulting solely, another beautiful part of this policy, that is not resulted solely from an accident, but may be caused by the insured person's underlying medical condition, we shall only pay 25% of the special sum insured. That means this policy will still pay rather than zero. Typical example, fell down due to stroke, underlying medical condition, the policy will still pay 25. This is a very beautiful policy. I'm sure you would have heard so many cases, or a toilet, go to toilet, fell down, died, passed away. By the way, this is especially true to those senior citizens like myself. Share this knowledge, please. One of those things when you in the middle of the night you get up to go and please spend a minute or two sitting on the bed before you ever get up, because the minute you get up, your blood will rush down from your head, and then you feel lightheaded, and then a person would feel giddy, and then by the time he walk into the toilet, he fall. Surely you hit, because the toilet is one of the most dangerous place. Everywhere is concrete. Fall, break head one, sure one. Everything is concrete in the toilet. There's no chance. And so small space, you hit the sink, you hit the concrete wall. That's where a lot of claims. I've also had this experience in one of these issue claims when medically is proven is because of stroke. Now, these are real life examples. Another one is while driving, one of my friend, also working in the insurance industry, while driving, he suffered a stroke. He got lucky thing, he banged the divider. He didn't die lah. Then, but by the time he get to medical, thank God everything was attended to within the hour. So but of course there is a certain amount of capacitated already because the stroke. Driving, So maybe he was driving with full of stress and anger after a whole day meeting, kena gasak by the agent. So he think kena stroke. Lucky thing he was not speeding. It was the cars. There was a lot of cars on the road. He banged into the divider. By the time they moved in and got him out, he's still alive. Of course, also retired much earlier than me lah. So this section provides for any to undergo any medical examination that the insurance company may need for the substantiating to further assess the insurance claim. The company will pay for the expenses. So the D part is very important. That you say the words used, underlying medical condition. Sometimes the underlying medical condition can cause that resulting in the accident.
Mr. Koo, Alan here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Regarding C, can you more express more little bit C under the C section?
At our expense to conduct any post-mortem examination. This is the one
Yes,
where it's
yes,
not prohibited by law.
yes.
Okay. Basically, it is at the insurance company's prerogative whether they want to have further expense, whether want to have any post-mortem examination. Post-mortem is one of the main key thing required to substantiate the issue about whether accident or non-accident, which is not prohibited by law. So that means the law will provide for that. Okay. If anything that is prohibited by law, then the company may not be able to get a post-mortem. That's very straightforward thing. What's in your mind? What's your
Question.
concern?
Question is a family member not allowed the disease sent to the postmortem. So how the scenario come back? How the claim you will settle?
Well, if you want the insurance company to pay the 500,000 claim, I suggest the whole family should agree lah, because it's not prohibited by law, ma. So the question is, this is the claim.
Yeah, but the Chinese, you know lah,
Yeah. That is what I
they-
meant by this is a condition that require. If it is not prohibited by law, the company is entitled. So the issue, if it is due to an accident outside, the police will definitely by law will have to do the post-mortem.
Yes.
Okay,
But
so these are the things that within customs and the law. So the word used is not prohibited by law. So in short, silently it says the disagreement that is all these are. So the question then draws on the company wants entitled to do this to pay in order to fully satisfy to pay this claim. It's between whether you want the claim or don't want the claim now.
if the insured family not allowed, so the claim can pay out lah, is it?
No, such thing. So it will be a what you call a dispute into that relevance of that. So again, like I said, the insurance company, GE is also very, you can see from this policy, GE has got a heart. So just talk to them. Talk to them. Talk to the company, because sometimes this issue about post-mortem, I can say the reality of post-mortem is usually done a few days later after the person fast, or done 1 or 2 days before. By the time the policy allowed the person to report the claim 7 days already buried low. Have you ever heard of cases where they go to a court to exhume the body to examine?
Yes.
Severity, each and every case would have its own severity, the requirement of such things.
But with the report, the police, if the police report
Yes.
the status there already accident because
No. Police report is only the evidence of the accident happening. Police report is not the defining moment to determine the nature of death. Whether is that due to what?
Yeah, because as I mentioned, during the time, the 3 days or 7 days already when you know the case, but already buried already. How to settle or maybe?
Yeah. Let the company do all the investigation necessary. Okay, so therefore the policy here has got this particular clause condition that the company shall be entitled to conduct post-mortem examination where it is not prohibited by law. Now, the the usual process is the person passed away is reported to the police, a death certificate issued, they're examining medical fraternity from the police to the hospital to examine. Okay, if it is due to a cause that is whatever, you see, even the scenario of all those who were buried in the Genting incident, all of them had postmortem.
Yes.
So the question is, family wants to don't want moi hợp作 with 保險公司 to get to settle the claim. My friend, do you think the company is going to, before paying the few $100,000 claim, they want to be fully satisfied too? So it becomes an issue of that law. For example, if it is Plan A, Plan 7, 1,388, 1.38 million sum insured plus 50% renewal bonus for the company to pay 2 million. They think the company do not want to investigate properly if there is any doubt. Yes,
Yeah.
the company will investigate. So the
That-
question here is whether there's a disagreement, whether you want to do, and there are cases where they have to go to the court to exhume the body to investigate. Now those are big claims.
Yeah, worry about the family lah.
No need to worry lah. When
7 days
when you
already.
reach the stage, only point taken is that these are things that is good to advise first in the event of a claim. At this kind of circumstances, the company would require by law, if required, any post-mortem examination. The post-mortem part mostly is from the hospitals and from the police that were doing it. So like I said earlier, the people all buried already in the mud, they still have to do the post-mortem because requirement of such things. Good question, good
Thank you.
topic to talk about because these are real. I know how it is. That's why I use the word not prohibited by law. That means it doesn't take into the consideration of religious belief or custom belief. Thank you, Alan.
Thank you, Mr. Koh. Thank you.
Welcome. Dispute permanent is not resulting solely from an accident, but may be caused by the underlying condition. We talk about it. If permanent disablement, no pay, death only pay, that 25% thing. Auto renewal, where you have this cash debit, usually they'll debit in and all that. Cash before cover is a condition in it. The other point I want to share with you here is, before I conclude here, is lodging claims. Lodging claims and grievances in every insurance policy is a requirement that the insurance company will have to put this in, how to make a claim complaint. Now, first and foremost, if the company don't pay a claim, they will have to give in writing, okay, that these are the conditions why they don't pay. Oh, these are the things why they pay this, but they don't pay this, blah, blah. All this will be in writing. This is the writing that will be no is of no help to anybody. All the argument, this one, the one, the company say pay this one first, because every insurance policy will be different. So this, and they these are things, leave it aside. Act very professionally, go to the policy, look at it. And every policy, if there's a claim and the company would issue a statement, if it is company says deny liability, they will give a letter and stating the reasons. And from this reason, if you are not happy, you can lodge complaint. And it's all here. Complaints handling unit, first and foremost, GE has got its complaints division that will handle this. Then you have ombudsman, what do you call ombudsman for financial services. Then you can lodge. This is like a middle body that can help to mitigate, can help to look at the thing. So there's a channel that the policyholder, not agent, policyholder raise this issue about this contract insurance and bring it to the ombudsman, or even for that fact to Bank Negara, Financial Mediation Bureau, FMB, formerly known as FMB, now is OFS, Financial Ombudsman of Financial Services, or Bank Negara, to lodge and present this case for them to look at it. Of course, the other one is contact details of our complaint handling unit. They will have this and report. And by the way, if there's any complaint lodged with the insurance company, okay, any insurance company, they have to also, the whole case of their case, to inform Bank Negara on. This is the requirement. Address and everything is all here. So this is the process and the contract of insurance between the insured and the insurance company. Any disagreement, any disputes, that it can be taken up to the next level but it doesn't mean after you take up to ombudsman or Bank Negara that they must pay. No, there's an independent body to look at the circumstances of the claim. It may not in favor of the policyholder. it may be not in favor of insurance company, or they may also arbitrate to say is middle of the road, 50-50 contribute, that kind of thing. So the outcome of it is where they can do it. Even Bank Negara, everything is detailed here in the contact details and all that. So this is part of the process to minimize insured complaints, insured disputes and all that with insurance company. This is what they call the part where the lodging complaints. Every policy would have, but if any insurance company were to decline any claim, they must be in writing. So you as an agent, a middleman, an extended arm of the insurance company is an area some of this have to be mindful. Like I said earlier, it's important how you process. When the insured ask you, can claim, can claim. Now to him means pay, pay. But to the insurance company, whether this is liable or not. So my suggestion, if you were to be take, is when you encounter such situation, can claim. claim 個人都可以 claim， 但係唔知保險公司賠唔賠 under 呢個 policy. Whether this policy under the circumstances of this claim is payable or not, let the company decide. I can help you to submit your claim. That is the best way to mitigate, rather than say yes, then the affirmative answer yes or no. Just like TikTok, we can answer yes or no, yes or no. Okay, I've come to the end of this part. So the final part here is looking at this questions, necessary underwriting info that is required in the proposal form. Now, proposal form is an integral part of insurance contract for you to understand. Occupation, sometimes people used to put that occupational classification. Businessman, what type of businessman? Self-employed, what type of employment? What type is it and the nature of duties so that to determine. So if underwriters were to return back to you, when you put that occupation, businessman, self-employed, okay, very seldom you see the word unemployed lah. So driver, these are incomplete info, need to be specific about it. Okay, there are 5 questions in GreatShield, so let's probably not go into GreatShield special as a product, but for travel insurance, there's a question need to answer. Declare any physical defect, disability, infirmity of the body physically, disabilities and all that kind of thing, whether it's health condition or physical defect that you have. So the travel insurance part, travel for more, you will have questions relating, declare the health condition. And then GreatShield, you only have minimal questions to be answered, only so-called to declare the defects, disability. Okay, I'll just run through the GreatShield special because this is one of those that relating to what I've said, but here you have to answer this question, even though just now I verbally covered it. Good health, free from physical defects. Yes, no, they're looking at this, answer yes, no. Most of it, they're looking for no answer. If you say yes, then you have to put in the thing. Are you in good health? You say yes. You say no, the defects, then you have to. Physical defect can also mean one hand. Physical defect can also mean some people may be born with kind of thing with what they call no fingers. So that's the deemed has categorized as infirmity or difficult defect. Hazardous sports activity, I just covered. Possess any PA accident insurance on your own. You may have 2 policies with GE. You have to declare if you have that. So the thing is that application decline. This is an important thing. Whether application for life or accident policies decline or accepted with reduced sum insured or with loading factors and all that, please declare this if it is under this particular policy. Any accident claims, any bodily things. Exclusion important, I went through with you about pre-existing. Occupation, minors, professional divers, pilots, aircrew, professional sports person, regular armed forces, police, all these are things like that. So again, the question here is very commonly part-time. He also signed up as voluntary RELA services. Ask your underwriter about RELA then. Okay? Effectively on renewal of the policy, you need to declare because these are 12 months long term. Travel for more. This is only 2 questions they ask. Physical defects. any person, anybody in this application can be the family or husband and wife traveling together, any accident or illness been declined or any special terms. This one need to be answered, because if there is a reason why insurance company decline an application, and if you say no and they find out, big trouble next day when it comes to claim. It is disclosure issue, disclosure of material facts. Pre-existing, again, very important. Issues about prescribed drugs and things like that, relevant more so to the health. Because remember, in a travel insurance, priority is actually very much on the medical expenses due to what do you call medical expenses. But so you will have illness and accidents. For the GreatShield special, there are only 2 questions asked. If the insurance is in good, if the insured is in good health, free from any defect, physical, there's a sentence grammar here. Is the insured not insurance? Is the insured in good health, free from any physical defect? If no, please answer why. These are the questions being asked. And if you need to answer this question in the what they call the principle is utmost good faith. Then the next question is to find out whether, just for the underwriters, to establish whether it's a high net worth person to be buying what plan. For example, if the person is earning unstable income, wants to buy plan 7, underwriters may refuse or offer a lower plan. That is the reason why this is a question that usually asked to relate to the sum insured. Important conditions, exclusion, change in risk, I touched about it. Declare expiration for underwriter, reserve the right not to or to impose or not to impose or to whatever the conditions they may have. Very common. Bank executive, part-time Grab driver. Please declare lah. These are some of the relevant questions in underwriting that they do ask. It's not because the company is being fussy or what, but for giving the chance for the underwriters, the insurance company, to assess the risk and whether that risk is that. Because it is still the duty is to assess them, bring on board into the pool reasonable standard risk. Not you bring in too much of substandard risk, there's a lot more claims, then it will only affect the pool of insurance. That's the principle behind the whole thing about pooling of insurance.
Mr. Koo, Alan again.
Yes, Alan.
Sorry to stopping. Regarding this this guy during before departure, he already consumption described by the doctor the hypertension medication. So is it considered exclusion if he fall down or fall sick in overseas? No claim will be paid out, is it?
So you have to understand the situation. If the doctor advised against travel, then it's going to be a big problem. And if it is a standard kind of thing, then you will have to read that, refer to the these conditions we talked about here. It will be for the active annual policy. So you have to re-examine, go into the travel for more policy to ascertain how we handle such thing. Is still categorized as pre-existing condition. The pre-existing condition will be very severe in the case of suddenly he had a heart attack or a stroke overseas because he had this underlying condition. So the medical expenses may not be payable under the pre-existing condition issues, pre-existing illness or whatever that is there. In that.
Right.
So this one, what we spoke about now is purely for the annual policy, which is the active policy. The GreatShield active product. So need to reline back to the travel for more policy to look at that particular situation in pre-existing conditions. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome. 邊個請食飯 Any questions, my friends? Kind of quiet from Alostar, Kota Baru. Kota Baru, ada apa soalan? Sila tanya kalau siapa yang ada kurang fahaman. Kalau ada apa, please ask.
Mr. Koo,
Yeah.
can we go back to my question earlier?
About what?
expired license.
Oh, I think the issue here, expired license. Let me see whether I can find the word expired license. It is very much under the issue about against the law, illegal. So expired license thing is again kind of gray area that the company will have. Let me just go back to that.
benefit 19, Mr. Koh.
Yeah, let me try to go back.
Yeah, benefit 19 is 19.
Give me a minute. Back to the policy. Benefit 19.
Yeah, benefit 19, you go to benefit 19, motorcycle extension.
Not necessarily just motorcycle extension. It could be a driving car license as well, involved in an accident. So the issue about legality, permanent or whatever that is.
Cool. If you do not mind, may I take up this question? Can I take up this question?
Yeah, Alan, Alex will add on to this.
Oh, hi. Yeah. Regarding the expiry license, right? Okay. We have checked the claims. Now, if the person license expired, right? So he has to actually renew it soon as possible, so that our claims here, will be able to consider and process the claims. Yeah. So I think this is the the answers, all right, that's actually given by claims department. Of course, I can say that if let's say this person doesn't have any license at all, is an illegal driver, then of course definitely that obviously we cannot we have to report the claims. All right. I hope that this has answered your questions. Yeah.
My question is,
Alex,
if the
that is
license,
very good. I mean, you can see that G has got a heart in it, but need to understand between expired. Expired doesn't mean you got no license. Okay. Now the no license, totally no license, is totally out lah. Expired license is just a provision that you get a license. So what happened is the act of it is illegal. He may be compounded by the police under the RTO, Road Transport Ordinance, Road Transport Act, RTA. So he will be fined under that one is there. But the fact is allowing that to be. So coming back to this benefit motorcycling exemptions, here it says possess a valid driving license. Possess a valid driving license. So in the context of expired, is it invalid? Yes, the act of driving at that material time of the accident is invalid. So Alex has given that answer to that. I hope the gentleman, the question that you bring us back into that question. I hope you have your answer.
not the full answer. Like ask Alex this question. If the license has expired, is there a duration whereby Great Eastern
How
can?
long it take to renew the license? As soon as possible, he earlier said.
Yes, but is there a duration? 1 year, 2 years?
No, cannot be that long, because you need to understand the 1 year, 2 year cannot come because you need to report this claim already. You want to submit the claim.
Yes, but my question is, if the license has expired 2 years, whatever reason the insured did not renew the license. So
Renew the license. You see,
if
the
the
license
license
may have expired 2 years.
second year,
Okay. The question is whether RTO, Road Transport JPJ, will renew his license. That's the danger part of him. Okay. Because if it expired for a long time, RTO may just say you have an invalid, no more license, because they don't want to renew your license. So in the process, if you can't get the license renewed, what happened to the claim? Which he said the company will consider, because to renew the license as soon as possible. He cannot get renewal. Now that is the third complication that will come up. That makes it companies what they call allowance to get the license renewed. He cannot get it renewed because it has expired for too long. That is again beyond the insurance company's jurisdiction. That will be under JPJ. I believe over the MCO thing, there are quite a number of cases where people cannot have expired license. For example, my son didn't come back. His license already expired. He's still overseas. So is JPJ going to renew his license? The answer is, so when the JPJ do not want to renew the license, in short, is considered as no license. Right? So it against in our talk today, in our sharing conversation, it is not a hard and fast rule to determine. Let's, in a real situation, the only thing I can stress to you, the importance is the door is open for discussion with GE. Yes, you have encountered such a situation. The company also wish to be there behind you, supporting you in that situation, how they look at it. Quickly get into communications with GE and try put the problem on the table and see how best they can handle it. That is the way to move forward. Sometimes I would because I've been working for an insurance company for donkey years. I always tell the agents that I know, please, anything that is not there, bring it up. Let's talk about it. You know, let's thresh out the insured's what you call predicament that he is encountered at that moment in time. That's the key thing. A solution can be worked out.
thank you, Mr. Fu.
Welcome. Any more questions before we wrap up the session? I hope you all have I've shared enough. Okay. Very
Mr.
fast,
Cook.
even though it is half a day. Yes.
Mr. Cook, one more last question for me. Regarding, can you elaborate a little bit of consumer insurance contract and non-consumer insurance contract?
Contract, huh?
Yeah,
Now,
contract.
it's just simply sort of requirement on the insurance company to specifically say, okay, to specifically go and find what is contract. It means this policy issue per se onto your personal interest, personal needs of an insurance as a person, which is not related to your trade, business, and profession. Now, when it's a non-consumer protect, it means the risk involved in your business, trade, or profession. For example, okay, now you are buying this policy as per name, Alan. You are the insured, or for that fact, you are the policy holder. You're buying the insured person is your wife name, if you're married lah, or maybe second, third wife, I don't know lah. So if you're married, in that sentence, you are insuring because it's insurable interest. Now, the next scenario, that is consumer as an individual. Now, the non-consumer is your company, SLK or ABC consultancy, on the life of your name, your Mrs. name, your clerk, your staff, your executive. That's 5%. That is in relation to your trade as a consultant. So the purchasing name of the insured name is your company. That will relate to non-consumer contract. In consideration, that is insuring on that purpose and blah, blah, blah. The full context of it is relating back to your disclosure made by you, submissions of proposal form. This one very much in line with what the days call of utmost good faith. Misrepresentation, pre-contract pre-contractual misrepresentation before you enter into a contract. What are the information that you, in your utmost good faith, to declare to the insurance company? So this is where utmost good faith means from insured, from the proposer to the insurance company. This is where they draw the lines, stating is consumer insurance contract, individual. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Koo. Thank you.
Welcome.
Mr. Koo,
Yes.
yeah, earlier in your training, under personal liability, you gave an example whereby the insured took his or her dog for a walk and the dog bit a person. You mentioned whether it's covered or not covered under personal liability. I didn't get you. Could you?
It is. You got to, because anytime the person will sue, if the person doesn't sue, okay lah. Legally liable, you know.
It's still liable if the person sues.
No, you see, legally, the word is legally liable in the court of law. So the policy will say whether the court say you are liable, the court say you are liable, then this becomes a contract. Because the action must be taken. You cannot admit liability if you were to take out money, okay? Take out money to pay for his medical expenses, which you are duty bound because you know it's your dog. So you take the money out to pay, that is an admission of liability. So in the context, okay, in the context, you're admitting you're liable, but then make it sure that, you know, that he agrees not to pursue the matter in the court of law and all that. So there are plenty of such things happening in today's world that out of faith that you pay, even the motorcyclist, not your fault, you pay him, some pity him, you gave him $50, go there, and then within the context of, within the 5 year or 6 years time, the fella get the lawyer chase him for the business, suddenly the insurance company cannot claim on such and such a day, your insured driver knock into this, blah, 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 blah. So those are the big headache, every day happening in this kind of thing. Every day happening in the motor insurance. So the same thing is that. So, you know, it's good to get a written that you won't pursue the matter anymore in the court. So if he does take you up legally liable, the key word is legally. If he takes it up to the court, then this section will come into play. It's not about paying your claim.
It's not
about
caused by the insured person
protecting
directly.
the insured.
It is caused by the dog, the party.
Huh? Come again?
Yeah, the injury is not caused by the insured person directly. It is caused by his dog.
Who is responsible for the dog?
Of course, I'm the owner of the dog.
I give you another example. If you run a restaurant, your worker caused injury, is caused by the worker, you are responsible. That's the law. Vicarious liability.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Koo.
Welcome.
Mr. Koo, learn again. This is not a public liability, it's a personal liability, Mr. Koo.
Yes. You're walking on the road, you take your umbrella, poke into somebody's eye, blinded.
Yes, they're going to pay. But it's just like say restaurant, that one is
one is, you see, restaurant is still a liability. That is under public liability. The responsibility is whether you say the dog, the dog is, you're not responsible for the dog. Okay.
Dog, you go back to section benefit 17.
No, that is personal.
Benefit 17. You go to number 6. You list status that other than domestic animal means that dog is covered. No, it's cool. Benefit 17.
The liability is not about covering the dog. The liability is covering your legal expenses. Legal liability. Your legal liability in the court of law.
Thank you.
Welcome. Well, thank you very much for this everybody's attendance as we map up. So Alex will do the closing. Thank you very much again, everyone.
Yeah, thank you very much, for attending these sessions. Believe that you have a good takeaway, from this walkthrough. Please stay tuned, because we're going to launch the bonus sessions right now. So it's a bit late here, So you'll be given 10 minutes to actually complete the polling, then get it submitted, and then you may leave the meetings room, So just give me